Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. Please delete as applicable because the internet is worldwide, and time zones are indeed still a thing. Can I get a wee audio check in the chat, please? And I will put the names of the commenters up on the screen, but I'm not going to go through everybody because I've got guests on. That's the normal form for this show. And with me tonight is my regular co-host, Sansom Communion, and Harry Sisson for some reason. Yeah, but anyway, Sansom, what about you, chum?
Hello, mate. How's it going? Nice end of the month stream. Don't forget, folks, your clocks go forward over midnight. It's that time again. So all my posts will be no longer GMT. It will be BST, which is bullshit tragedy. That's what it stands for.
Technically, I think it is British summertime. We've got this bullshit because some do-gooder wanker some do-gooder wanker decided to campaign for it on the basis
that
I can't remember. I did do a show about it, but he reckoned that we were wasting daylight in the morning, and we should all get out of our bed fucking earlier, and so that's what it was. And then he eventually got it in to do with production for the war.
Yeah.
And then it just stuck. It's like fucking herpes. We can't get rid of it.
And also, one final reminder for everybody who may have forgotten, don't forget it's Mammy's Day tomorrow.
Yes, Mummy's Day tomorrow. Emma G, one of Emma G's little people bought her flowers today. Her eldest son used Emma G's money, but he still did buy her the flowers.
Hey, it's the thought that counts. Stop mocking.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, actually, I will say one thing. Actually, no, I'm not.
You nearly caught yourself out there.
Yeah. See, I'm not sure what is and is not public knowledge, but what I will say
is talking.
Yeah. He assists and helps children with playing football and stuff, so he is civic minded. Like, RPW is in the chat. He will be jumping in near the end of the show, mate. Anytime after like an hour and 20 minutes, just come in and we'll bring you on in the next outro. What I like to do is, if somebody's been on the end of the month guest slot, I'd like to give them an opportunity to come back the following month so that they can find out that, have a right reply to anything that was said, and find out that it was as mad as they actually thought it was, just in case it was a blur, you know. So Rich will be in. Pakka, how's yourself, chum?
I'm all good, thanks. Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
I'm my usual self, all over the show.
Yes, and you've been doing quite a bit of co-hosting lately.
Yes. Dangerfield's back from his hiatus.
Yes, he's back. He's back, and the show's back on the road. So that's all very good.
Yeah. Every so often he has a tussle with his demons.
Fuck, tell me about it. I had a bit of an argument with my demons. I believe I've won this round. I had gone quite a bit off with my spending habits and food and all that sort of stuff, and I've got it back on track. So it did have a bit of the last couple of weeks weren't brilliant, to be totally honest with you, but we're back on track. That's the main thing. So yeah, one of the things is that if you do this regularly, if you stream regularly, whenever something comes up in your life, and we all do have lives outside of, who's calling my emoji a demon? Emma G's a wonderful person.
I'm not guilty. I'm in
Yeah.
our screen at the minute. I said hello to sort of a few folks, and I'll go back in
Yeah.
and say hello in a minute.
Yeah, no, it's possibly been picked up something incorrectly from me. There's bosses in.
It's probably you. She probably means when you were saying my demons. That's what
Oh,
it's you probably.
right. Yes. That. Thank you, Sansom. No, Emma and I do not fight or argue. You had a fight with your demons. Yes, I did. Yeah. Sansom helped me out. What? Yeah. But no. My Amaji was actually very supportive through all of that. So there you go. Sansom, what are we like for housekeeping?
Yeah, I've only got one bit.
Right.
And that's our good friend Rags, who's on tomorrow at 7, and he's got special guest Toffee on tomorrow night, so that'll be a good one.
Yep, toffee on my eggs, very good. You like
Yeah,
that?
and then
Get
obviously I
yourself
know
over
you want to promote something called Dave's Waffles House, but I like to promote Waffle Dave's House. It's a much better show.
Yeah, it is. There's less stock taken on beaver in Waffle Dave's house, I believe. So a couple of shows that I like to shout out. One being Courage to Secure, Australian girl called Robin. She's all over all the different madness and politics and general society. Another one, Rich from RPW Media, who will be on later on, and he's in the chat. If I can, where did he go? Try to find his comment. He's in the chat. If I can find his comment, yep, there you go. This guy here is going to be on later. Get over, click the link and go and sub. Because if you like the stuff that we do here, you will like that stuff. So there's that. And Rich has more than just a show going on. There's a whole media network behind it. There's a website. There's also, you'll get all the deep dive information you want there. Good resource. So there's that. And of course, the Dave's Waffle House, home of the Friday night duck race, the best duck race on the internet. And there are many ways to get the win ducks. You can leave comments on the streams. You can take part in the show. You can indeed buy ducks. And since people are claiming that Dave is a grifter, I'm his chief enabler, and I don't take super chats. But feel free to go over there and buy me a goddamn duck. Okay, so there's that. I think that's pretty much.
I don't know why I bother. Every fucking duck I've got has been a goose. So,
well, Emma.
It only takes one to win, though.
It only takes one to win. Emma G and I were having a bit of an investigation about duck racing and stuff. Right. Okay, I can explain this. Mark Sheldon. Does anyone know when someone has a YouTube channel, has a super chat, do they get all that money from super chat? No, they do not.
No.
YouTube takes 30% at least, doesn't it?
YouTube takes 30%. And by the way, money gained on YouTube is the same as money gained from carrying bricks from A to B. So the government wants a bit of that as well if you want to stay legal.
Just go on YouTube and look up Ron Swanson and the Little Girl's Sandwich.
Is that the follow-on to the latest Snow White movie?
No.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it. On that one there. I mean, I love the original Disney cartoons, the animated ones, and I absolutely love them. Even now in my dotage, I still adore them. I think they're wonderful pieces of art. And so there's been. I mean, I had no intention of watching. I ever watched any of them ones there? I watched. They did a live remake. They say it's like a reimagining because they got no fucking ideas, have they? These days they're mental. And they did a reworking of Beauty and the Beast. Had that Emma Watson in, or what's her face in. That was okay. I saw that one and it was all right. I mean, I've got no intention of watching
do you
any
know
of
what
this.
do you know what the moral of the story is from
What?
Beauty of the Beast?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how ugly you are, doesn't matter how nasty you are, if you're very rich and got a castle, you'll get the girl.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, of course you will. But yeah, so this Snow White thing, right? It's been absolutely trounced, and I'm not even talking like, you know, people on our, because I mean, you know, it's a mockery, isn't it? Really, when it's Snow White and they've cast somebody not Snow White, but
yeah,
and the you know the evil queen is 10 times prettier, you know.
yeah.
But it's been absolutely slated by shitlib media as well. And on the way back, because I went over seeing my auntie and uncle this afternoon for a couple of hours, and on the way back, I'm listening to Radio Blurb. You know, pretty. What was it? It was either Heart or Capital. I can't remember. We're driving back. Book your ticket now for the #1 movie. And he goes, well, it won't be that fucking Snow White, will it? And he says, Snow White. I'm like, no fucking way. It's like, it's been absolutely panned.
Well, she was either killed it 2 years ago, didn't she? She killed it stone dead then. It was dead in the water then.
Skin white as snow, hair black as coal. Was that what the Brothers Grimm wrote?
Yeah.
Something similar to that. Not skin black as coal, hair black as coal and curly. No, never involved in the original telling. Now the problem is that I'm pretty sure that there are African stories similar to what we have. Yeah. And the fact that they keep putting African people into European stories means that the African stories are not getting told. The people who are like Africans aren't even gaining from that, because what they're getting is a shit version of European stories. They could actually go with their until you start to look into the African stories, and then
I mean, I used to love watching them. I mean, they had their own programs, didn't it? It was Roots and Crime Watch. They used to have on it in the old days. But,
oh fuck! Yeah, one of those is based in fact, in that there is a lot of crime, and we do try to catch those people. And the other one is a total fabrication of how all of that went down. You know, it's a bit mad. It is a bit mad. Billy, there are quite a few African stories. There is the actual story about the genuine female tribe that ruled a little bit of Africa until they and took over the place of the men until actual men arrived, and then that tribe didn't exist anymore. So there's that. That's where the Amazon female warriors comes from. You know, except they died out whenever they met men.
I've met a couple of them as well. The Amazon warriors, they shit at delivering. They turned up, yeah. There's a couple of Brunhildes, like
what color are the vans?
Well, the blue ones, the dark blue with the Amazon on. Yeah, they sort of turn up, rock up, and you know it's them because they nearly put your fucking door through. Bang, bang, bang. You're not ignoring those fuckers. I mean, in fairness, at least they knock, because the usual parking patueos or the Eastern Blockers, they'll just leave it like in your bin, or they'll just do. They don't even bother. It's like they're that quick to get stuff done. So I've actually to be honest with you, I've actually if I ever bought anything from Amazon, I've actually given up getting it delivered to the house because it is literally a lottery. So there's a town, well, like the next village up from where I am, they've got a co-op and they do a bloody Amazon drop there. So I just get everything sent there because I'm in and out of that place at least once a week. So it's no skin off my nose. I'm not ever that desperate for whatever I've ordered because it's usually shit stuff anyway. But yeah. So yeah, you get the Brunhildes. God, dear me. Yeah, if she said it was Tuesday, it was Tuesday. It wasn't even a tranny. So, yeah, it's Mother's Day tomorrow. By the way, everybody.
It is. It is. It's Mother's Day, and according to the taxi drivers in Liverpool, it's their worst day of the year.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Second worst is Ladies' Day at the Grand National event.
Oh, right. You mean because they get a bit hammered, like
women?
Yeah, it's the fighting and all that stuff that goes on.
Really? Yeah.
Yes. See,
drunk women sense them. They just run around with no idea of consequences.
Right. Round about 2014, there was a whole load of pictures come out of Ladies' Day at the Entry, or is it the Entry has a Grand National? Which one has a Grand National? One in Liverpool.
It is Aintree, yeah. Aintree has the Grand National.
Ladies' Day at Entry, and they were all in various states of drunken falling downness, half-dressedness, and being very rude. Their solution to that was to ban any press photographers from taking photographs of women acting inappropriately. Wasn't to ask them to wise themselves up because nobody does that. But there you go. But
don't look.
But what I will say is, like, this sounds bad because I've been hammering on Mother's Day, but like, Mother's Day is actually very important, and everybody ought to have a bit of time for the mother tomorrow, or for
us to think, a memory. If you're in the boat as me, have a nice little memory of your mum.
Yeah, and me and Emma and lots of others. So we're thinking about all these as well.
Yeah. So I don't look at it as a maudlin thing. I just sort of, a little memory. But However, seeing as how we are celebrating, rightly so as well, we should, we should celebrate by, let's have the ultimate in femininity. I think that we should, share these moments. Don't you?
Yeah.
So
what have you got us?
Oh, it's wonderful. Here we go.
All right, yeah.
First ever slap from Jackie Cataline. First ever. Two. Let's see what she's got. Oh, there it is. Sitting, she's out. It's done. She's frozen. Oh! Jackie Cataline.
Yeah. Does anybody understand this bullshit? Apparently, this is like a sport. I'm like, no fucking way. This is not a sport. And it is. Blokes do it as well. I'm like, are you fucking mad? It's basically, you line up, and you've got two men or two women. I don't know if they have like weight categories like boxing and that. And it's basically, you flip a coin, and it's like, right, I'm going to slap you as hard as I can. And I get to defend myself. No, you don't. Why? Because I'm going to slap you. But it's going to fucking hurt, isn't it? Well, that's the idea. Well, I want to defend myself. No, you can't do that shit.
It's funnier with fish.
No.
But it's to me, it reminds me of that joke. I don't know if you remember the joke where you've got the sort of the two neighbours, and one keeps chickens, and the chicken lays an egg, and the egg rolls under the fence. And the other fella, he picks the egg up. He goes, "Oh, magical! Got an egg for me breakfast." The other one comes, "Hey, that's my fucking egg. It's in my garden." He goes, "Yeah, but my chicken laid it." And he goes, "Yeah, so it's my property now." He goes, "No, it isn't." And he goes, "Are you going to argue about it?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "All right then. Well, we have an old tradition round here. What happens is, I'll come round there, yeah, and I'll kick you as hard as I fucking can in the bollocks, yeah. And then after that, when you've recovered, you kick me as hard as you can in the bollocks, and we'll work out who hurt the most. And the person who hurt the most loses." Okay, I'm fucking up for that. So the bloke goes round next door, and he goes, "Go on then." So he wellies him as hard as he can in his nuts, and this bloke's creased on the floor. Eventually he recovers and he gets up and he goes, "Right, it's my turn." He says, "No, you can have the egg."
Right. Oh, here I've following on for yours. I've got a little bit. I've just found this on slightly better than. How's this?
What the hell is that?
Is that all you got?
It would take me a while to find it, but there are longer ones. These are contests similar to the ones with the face slapping, only I think they're probably a little bit more interesting.
I've seen everything now.
Well, it is the last Saturday of the month.
You got to come up with some smarts, haven't you?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
If you ever come across the pole vaulting, is it with the pole jumping? What's that called?
Yeah, pole vaulting. Yeah.
Pole vaulting. Yeah. You come across them videos if they ever
the,
get
the Dutch one.
Yeah.
The Dutch one. I'll get you out now.
Yeah. Just pop into the comments because they're hilarious. The comments is all these men going, "Hello, chaps. Why are we here?"
Yeah. All right. Hold on. Here we go. I'll get a little bit of this. Hold on. With an advert.
Yeah, that's the only thing in it, the adverts.
Right, here we go. StreamYard. We've got this. Is this the stuff you mean, Pakka?
He's busting down the lane. He's running. He jumps. He grabs the pole. He's climbing up. If you're wondering what the hell is this, it's Vierjuppen or Dutch canal jumping. An Equinox project has been all over me, just on my ass about making a breakdown about Dutch canal jumping. So here you go, EP. Here we go. Now, it started because the Netherlands is so close to sea level or underwater. There's so much water all around that farmers would just carry around logs just to get across the canals. Two old men just walking around, jumping canals. Then they're like, hey, the whole country is pretty good at this. Why don't we see who's the best? So they turned it into a sport. Striped shirt right there. He does pretty good. Number 83, though, this is back in the 50s when they turned it into a sport. He's crushing it. Gets to the top of the pole, goes all the way out. He celebrates. His friends celebrate with him. It used to be wooden poles. Then they switched to plastic. Now they're fiberglass, which allows more hang time. That sucked. That was really bad, and the spy in the crowd can barely contain his smile. And then I guess there was no age limit because this dude's old. I mean, he barely jumps. He kind of just runs into the stick, and now he's swaying. I mean, pretty badass because I think this dude's old. Just misses, which is now he's embarrassed. Old, just misses. So anyway, this is what it looks like today. It's a whole big event. That dude threw sand into the crowd. Swagger walks to the crowd, very excited with himself, gives his...
There we go.
But I kid you not, absolutely kid you not, that wasn't what I was talking about. I was talking about the ladies pole vaulting.
Oh, right.
The comments there. Right, but that, I've done that. I grew up in a place called, when I was 11 years old, I moved to a place in Lincolnshire called South Holland. And it's full of dikes. And as kids, that is what you do. You go out, well, before the internet, right? You went out.
I think you're supposed to call them lesbians now, mate.
Yeah. And you jump dikes. And if there was a pole, you could jump a bigger dike.
So what age were you doing this from, Mr. Pakka?
11 to 13.
Yeah.
14.
Yeah. That's a pretty good afternoon. That go out and fuck about. Well, yeah.
It was not the only thing we did. We did other normal teenage things like play football and whatever else. But, we lived in South Holland. The place is full of dikes. You grow up in the countryside. You need to get somewhere.
Yeah. Fuck that walking along the paved road and stuff. No, just go across the field and jump a couple of dikes.
Round the field.
Right.
Honest,
right.
Honest, Mr. Farmer.
Because these fields have like crops and stuff planted on them.
Some of the time, yeah. Some of the time, the farmers don't like it.
Right. Yeah.
In Minecraft.
Yeah. If they've got a nice field of barley and you're tramping through it and making a fucking pathway.
Yeah, but this is they knew who he was. The local farmer was the local farmer. It wasn't a big conglomerate, and he knew who he was. And occasionally he'd catch us and shout at us, and sometimes he wouldn't.
Yes.
He used to shout at you, "You little scamps, get down here! I'll put a blindfold on you and get you to milk that cow."
Yeah, anyway, dike jumping when you're a teenage, when you're a early teenage lad, hours of fun.
Yeah.
Well, we used to do down in Stoke. I've said this often.
Could you impress the chicks doing that?
Probably.
Yeah. Did the girls get a bit impressed if somebody was quite good and athletic at jumping these dikes?
No, I don't think so. I think it was just on the cusp, just before the moment that you decided you wanted to do things that impress chicks.
Right.
One of the last things you did to impress each other.
Right. Yes. Before you moved up that level.
Yeah. Sorry, everybody.
We had something similar down in Stoke because we're like sort of just on the outskirts of the River Trent. So there used to be loads of little tributaries that used to go down, and one used to be out the back of our house. And it was pretty. We went for miles. It actually did join up to the proper River Trent and everything. But out the backs of our houses, we used to go down the backs. We used to call it, we're going down the backs. And we used to have a game of doffers, what was called doffers. And it was basically the further up the top end where it was, the sort of narrower it was. So you would
see how far you could get down that river before you fell in?
Yeah, that was basically it. So, and it was always the same thing. It was always like, because that's the thing. I'll offer you to do that jump there then. So you'd say, yeah, all right, no bother. And there were certain ones that like were really, really wide, but because of the way the land was sorted out, you used to go up like a bit of a hill, so you had a jump off point, so you could. It was an easy.
Yeah,
it was an easy one. Yeah, but the worst ones were when you were jumping, because there was a one side of the stream or brook, as we used to call it, was always neatly kept. They used to send, the council used to come and mow it down to like literally it was like golf course short. You don't bother doing all that shit now. They're just lazy bastards and say they're rewilding the area. Have you noticed that? Lazy bastards. The state of this hedgerow here, yeah, we're rewilding that. No, you're not, you lazy bastards. You just fucking, what you're rewilding? Those fucking Twix wrappers and a couple of crisp bags, you fucking idiots. But, you know what I mean? So you get down this, but the worst ones, because the other side really was wild. That was, because that's a great place on the other side of the brook was the place where we used to play army and that, because in the summer the trees used to be up and it was great for playing army and shit like that. But there used to be occasions where it wasn't a particularly long jump, but you were taking off from a slightly lower position, and it would only be like 1.5 foot or so, but you knew that the combination of moderate length plus having to get a little bit of height. And so, like I say, we used to, in the end, you know how Dick Fosby sussed out a particular way, the Fosby flip of getting over the eyeball. Well, we came up with some ingenious ideas on how to get across without falling back in. So we'd sort of have a sort of what I'd call a semi-commando roll. So you go pegging, go pegging up to this one end here, and you'd jump, but instead of sort of jumping and your feet going first, you'd sort of launch forward and then midair sort of turn half your shoulder, so you would land half on your back and then swing your legs over just before they. So we come up with all these ingenious plans, but there was always the point at the brook where you'd never done it in your life ever, and you never were going to. But that day you thought you were. And you used to go home covered in clarts and shite, and your mum, "You've been down that bloody brook again?" "No, you're just playing." "You've been down, I can see it on you. You've been down in that." And they used to moan like hell, but I think they were happy with the fact that we were just out playing with, with mates and everything. So we weren't causing any bother with anybody because it was nowhere near houses and that. It was just out the back of our houses, but it was like, beautiful place. And we played football on one half of where the hill used to rise and then go down. On one side, it was like flattened out low enough where you could play cricket or you could play football. But on the other side, it was great for, some of the shit we used to get up to on bikes, and that was mental. It used to be really steep, but it was great for seeing. Another one we used to do is when we used to have our bikes, and that was, you go tanking it, and it was to see how far, when you got to the bottom and you pulled a skid, you could get your back wheel to the edge of the brook without actually going in.
Oh, right.
And and oftentimes,
yeah, you misjudged
sort of
that.
failed. You failed on that as well. Yes, tonight's sponsors is Boddington's, the only draft beer for discerning gents, and Pakka. We called it Doffers Anglo. Did you call it Doffers? We used to always call that Doffers.
Hang on, if we're doing a proper sponsor.
The mellow taste of 3.4%.
Here, Samson, I've got a question for you out of all of that. See, whenever you were kids playing army, were you allowed to have toy guns out there?
Oh, we had. Yeah, something. So we had some guns used to fire things as well. It was like, I had an M16 that used to fire these little plastic. I'd supposedly be the size of a 2.2 bullet. Now I'm telling you now.
Yeah.
Back in the 70s, nobody gave a shit if you put somebody's eye out. It was sort of a bit of a hijinks, wasn't it, if it happened? But I tell you, this M16 I had used to knock out these.
No. People were going to be disappointed if you put someone's eye out. It's not like no one give a shit.
Yeah.
But they just understood.
But what I'm saying is it was like, par for the course. There was none of this, bullshittery. But yeah, we had some great guns. One of the lads he had, one of the ones he had the grenade launcher on the bottom as well. He used to fire out little plastic, they would look like pineapple grenades with because you had to slot them into the spring-loaded mechanism at the bottom. When you fired it, it still had the big long plastic bit stuck on the end to what you had to push it in to get the spring loaded. So these things used to go flying out, and they, like I say, if they flipped over in the air, they could put your eye out. So everything was really dangerous, and yet you never heard of accident or very, very few accidents when we were kids.
Well, see if we had anything like that growing up, which one of my friends did. They had like the Tommy gun version of what you had, the M16. They were not allowed out of your back garden if you were in a wealthy area or your backyard if you were in a poorer area, and the backyard, not the front one that the public can see.
Oh yeah, because
Yeah.
of obvious reasons.
Yeah, because a barrel poking out of a hedge looks like a barrel poking out of a hedge.
I mean, because we used to do all that, because we were proper kids, weren't we? We'd play army, we'd do bloody cowboys and Indians with real fucking bow and arrows. Okay, they had that useless rubber thing that was supposed to, if you shot it at a door or something, it would stick. Never stuck on the door, but it'd come keen if you hit you in the back.
Yeah,
that's what.
Yeah, the bow and arrows were the wee red rubber stickers.
Yeah,
you lick them and ping them at the door.
Yeah, yeah, it never stuck. I don't think ever in the lifetime of owning one of those bows and arrows did it ever stick in the door ever.
Oh, I'll tell you what it sticks to. It sticks to glass windows.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, it does.
We were dissuaded quite severely from not aiming them at windows.
Oh yeah. Oh, trust me, so was I.
Let's just say the rosy cheeks of your arse pretty much told you that you're not supposed to do.
Yeah.
You know when chastising children was a thing.
Yeah.
We had
and when there was
slingshots.
actual losers.
We had slingshots when I was a kid. Do you remember them?
Yeah, Black Widow. Do you remember the Black Widow one?
No, I had a metal. I just had a metal slingshot with a rubber band and a whatever you made the cup of to put in it.
No, I had a Black Widow. I think they banned them. Did they ban them? Because we used to go out once again, but we used to use like target practice and everything. And
where did you get your ball burns?
Well, my dad used to work down the mine, and there used to be shitloads of ball bearings. So it wasn't like we were ever bereft of. I mean, when they go down in 10,000 years or whatever it is, they go down excavating. When AI goes and has a look,
you can buy them now.
Yeah,
you can still buy them now.
Yeah, well, these were the size of marbles, though. These were like proper.
Oh, you can. I went camping with Steve Craig and his boys. Me and
you mean?
And Steve Craig turned up and he bought more slingshots with pellets, and they were sighted, laser sighted.
Oh
what?
Shit! Yeah.
So we set the laser sights up so they were accurate, and then we all went shooting tin cans.
Yeah, but then the person inside the house can see that something's coming.
Yeah, we weren't shooting at people inside their houses.
No, we weren't shooting at people inside houses. We were shooting at houses that were the other side of a river.
Anyway, what if they can suddenly see a little red dot? That's even funnier. So, if they go, there's a little red, ouch, and start, effing and blinding and hopping around. That's just funnier.
Yeah, that's what shit it for James Bond at the start of Spectre, didn't it? Because he's chasing after that bloke and he's got the bead on him, and the bloke puffs his tab and he sees laser. He goes, "Oh shit, there's something going off here now." Yeah, bad show, Bond. You failed, Bond. Oh yeah, but it's great. Like I say, I don't think we were mental. Far from it. I mean, judging by the caliber of shit that's coming out now, like in schools where everything, there are no losers, everybody wins, participation trophies and all this bullshit. There was none of that.
We all had knives, and we all had access to air rifles and slingshots, and we had all that nonsense. And we all went out on bike rides, and our parents didn't know where we were for somewhere between 8 and 12 hours during the day for most of the summer holidays, and nor did they give a shit.
Yeah. Well, that was the same with us.
Look, all of us are still here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think there's I certainly think that
somehow we managed not to stab each other.
Well, yeah, I mean, everybody had at least a penknife or a multi-tool one. Do you remember when you used to try and outdo each other's by how much shit you'd have on your penknife? Like you'd have a spoon and a fork on one, shit like that. And that's meant. Yeah. Whoa, hold on. Whoa, what?
Did you just play splits?
Huh?
Yeah, Chicken,
Right.
yeah.
No,
Chicken.
Chicken
You mean
splits.
chicken?
I would have associated chicken with the hand, but splits was where you had two people standing about 5 yards apart, and what you're trying to do is land your knife on the ground directly between their ankles.
You start with your legs apart, and they throw
Yeah.
their knife between your legs, and you move
Yeah.
one foot to the knife.
And you
I
move
know
your
what
you
foot to
mean.
wherever the
Like
knife is, and then you get to throw it.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I do remember that.
Did you ever play catch with milk bottles?
No.
No, you get a milk
Well,
bottle.
I might have done, but I won't go by that name, maybe.
Yeah, you get a milk bottle and you throw it the way the fuck up in the air, and your mate has to catch it.
Oh, right. No, don't think I played that one.
Whenever he catches it, he gets to throw it up in the air. And you've got to catch it.
You did have the concept of balls in Northern Ireland, didn't you? Yeah.
Well,
and we had the concept of money back on the bottle.
No. I'll tell you what we had the concept of. See, whenever some fucker throws a milk bottle at you, see if you can catch it and throw it back at them.
Oh, yeah.
It's probably a good skill to learn. So we'd have been in the back entry, winging these milk bottles of each other about 30 yards apart. If it breaks, it breaks.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we didn't do that, but we got up to all sorts, everything was a bit of an adventure.
Yeah.
We were never, I tell you what, as kids, all year now, you've got these kids now, the more fucking technology, and although I have to admit, I haven't heard my kids say it because they were always up to something anyway, whether it was, they always had people to go and see if it was sunny. That was the main thing about my kids. If it was good weather outside, they were out and about. They weren't sort of, sat in front of a screen or using thumb dummies all the time. But these days, like I say, you've got kids now. They've got more fucking technology and television channels, and you can shake a stick at. And I'm bored. I'm like, you're not bored. You've just got a lack of imagination. Oh, look at that beautiful Moggy. Oh. Yeah.
Bear, everybody.
I like aminals.
Yes, so do I. Although I wouldn't have the time or whatnot to look after myself because I live on my own work shifts and all that sort of stuff, and it wouldn't be fair on it. But I do like animals.
Yeah,
I do. There. Right. Do either of you two gentlemen have a appropriate story?
Well, I've selected a few.
Good. Go for it.
Well, one of them was. It's not. I don't think it's. It tickled me. It tickled me. But it might be a bit dry. But I just thought we would. I can't. I mean, this just tickled me, and this is from the Daily Telling Lies. I don't know if you've got that up, but it says
the actual fuck.
But guess where it is though. It says believing in meritocracy is a form of racial harassment. Yeah, and this is coming from the British Antarctic Survey.
Oh now, yes, and all went off down there.
Yeah, because some low impulse control, low IQ individual, even though they're in a very high IQ situation, kicked off because they can't fucking help themselves. And then obviously because of all of the press that's been coming out about it and everything, and they were saying like, yes, and one person was attacked another person. Oh, they did they? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, okay. Any kind of, you want to give us a bit more? No, not really. But it all came out in the wash anyway. But and then like literally a week later, we've got this shit in the Sunday Telegraph. believing in meritocracy is a form of racial harassment. I mean, yeah, the controlled spontaneity group and the behavioral sciences and the social engineers are I'm feeling strong with this one. So yeah, so
Well, previously they went to the blind test and blind criteria where you don't know anybody's characteristics before you choose them for the job, and they scrapped that because the wrong people were getting the jobs. They did this to try to make it easier for black people to get employed, but then they found out that the black people were losing their benefit points and therefore not getting employed. So they had to scrap that. So yeah, meritocracy, white supremacy. Of course, that's exactly what it is. It's not like let's have the person flying the aircraft that knows how to fucking fly it. That's nothing to do with it. Please
I want to
continue.
know how many short white blokes they have to have in every NBA team.
I think there's at least 2 on every team, 3 in some instances. So
Yeah,
you've got to have.
I want at least 2 white blokes. They've got to be at 5'8" or under.
Well, no, I think you're being.
And if you don't let them play, well, that's that.
Well,
out of order.
Peter Dinklage is signing up for the LA Lakers next week, isn't he? So.
Tom Thumb, Ben Shapiro. Could you imagine Ben Shapiro playing basketball?
I don't know. He might have done.
If he dribbles as fast as he talks, he'd be all right.
Yeah, but he's a short arse, is he not?
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you ever seen that youth? He's called the Professor. I think he's called the Professor, and he's a little. He's a white lad, about 5'7", but he's just got outrageous skills, and he's usually taking the piss out of people because he'll look as if he's thrown the ball or passed the ball, and it's actually he's done it with his hand, and it's rolled down the back of his hand, so the other person thinks he's been passed, and he turns around, and it's like sort of rolled his hand underneath, and it's on the back of his hand. And when the other bloke turns around, he's like, "It's here still."
It's sleight of hand with a basketball. Yeah.
Yeah.
Quite impressive.
Yeah. The Professor, I enjoy watching them ones because it's really good. Because sometimes he'll turn up in sort of a semi-disguise sort of thing, and I don't think there's many people pick him out, but he'll just turn up and he'll sort of have bottle jam jar bottom side glasses on or something, and he'll be like sort of doing the pics of like, you can have this guy, and then he sort of wipes the floor with them. It's really good. Yeah, but yeah. So apparently, believing in meritocracy is a form of racial harassment. I mean, you can't make this shit up. How it's just as as such. The EDI, speech and conduct codes. No, we don't want any more. This experiment has gone on for too far for too long, and nobody's believing the bullshit anymore. The big LBJ push. Well, if we bus all these kids in from here into these nicely performing schools, they'll within 2 years they'll all be fucking astronauts and scientists. And what happened? Everybody in the school ended up being fucking gangsters and weed smokers. You know what I mean? It was like the reverse was true. And
the big problem was the other end of that, which is never talked about. You had all these white middle class kids had to go to school in a fucking ghetto because they got bused the opposite direction. So while they took black kids out of the ghetto and put them into the schools for the white kids, they took the white middle class kids and put them in the ghetto, a place that they were not fucking equipped for. And those white kids were less equipped for life in those schools than the black kids were, because the worst thing was going to happen to the black kid is to get a bad result in the test. The worst thing has happened to one of those white kids that's got fuck all street smarts, believes in right and wrong, and everything's going to be fair and done justly and whatnot. Through in that school, where they're basically hated. They did not do well at all out of that. They got the shit beat out of them, and that was all covered up.
Right, I'll just give my opinion on the American school system. Yeah, it's fucked. It's all fucked.
Oh well, so's ours.
Yeah, but someone needs to go in there and go right through it and tear it down and start again. Oh, hang on.
Trump's having a go at
that. Yeah, good.
Yeah, and he's got it by the funding.
Yeah, I wish him and his team the very best of luck in their endeavours to prove themselves correct and, if possible, to the rest of the West. Please.
Well, what Trump's for doing is taking all the federal money. Rich will correct me if I'm wrong here later, either in the comments or later on, but I believe what he's doing is he's taking the federal money and giving that to each individual state and saying to the states, use the people that have got the that are teaching the kids, use it. I'm stopping paying for all this organization where no child's being taught. That seems to be what he's at, and that will. It's like everything else. Whenever the federal government to say, if you want your funding, you must teach A, B, and C in your curriculum. Well, fuck the teach A, B, and C. So whenever it goes to the states, control the states. He's saying education back to the states. So whenever he sends it back to the states, it'll be the states deciding what the syllabus is, and it's not going to affect their funding because they're also in control of the funding.
Yeah, we're hearing all that. Yeah, but David Pakman put out a video tonight saying all the kids are thick in America because Trump.
This is not true. Actually, I've got something.
How do you manage that in 2 months?
Yeah,
I think
exactly.
Yeah. Well,
however,
ruined it all.
Yeah. However, the big W for the Donald J, the big W is. Did you know? And I'll share this now. Did you know for the first time in over 20 years, the United States mathematics team beat the Chinese mathematics team for the first time in 20 years? So I think you should show this screen now, 42, and we'll give them a round of applause. Well done, America.
Yeah.
Da, 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 da,
See, that's a Chinese team relocated to America.
Why are you not good at math? I bet Rich, if you're still in the chat, mate, you must warm, comfortable glow in the heart, innit? You know.
They're really good at it. That's what it is.
USA.
Yeah. It's obvious what's happened here. Those kids have been hothoused and given the best American education and mom's apple pie and everything, and turned out to be really good. No, fuck. They're Asians.
DEI, that is. They've been given a leg up, clearly.
Yeah. No, I think they're being trained to go into business where knowing what the figures means becomes important, and they're actually very good at it because that's what their families do, and they.
You mean they've been trained to learn things at school?
No, they've been trained to learn things at home. Here's what's happened. They've been trained to learn things at home and brought their home education into the school, and turns out it was better than the fucking education provided in the classroom. Yeah,
Because Trump.
Yeah, it's like
You know that
it's like,
bit? Because Trump.
yeah, because Trump. It's like, all the members of that team happen to be Chinese, and you're like, happens to be. What does that mean? Because happen to be, two, two Chinese parents, man and woman. Yes, 4 Chinese grandparents. Man, 2 men, 2 women. Yes. Where the fuck's it happens to be? They're fucking Chinese. It's not rocket science. Well, apparently rocket science isn't really that difficult either. Apparently the rocket science bit of learning to be a jet fighter pilot is the least difficult mathematical bit, and the aerodynamics is much more difficult.
It's not rocket science because that's one of the few things they haven't copied and done a bit better.
Well, the other thing as well, harking back to the meritocracy thing.
But how can the Chinese copy what the Americans didn't actually do? You want to know? You want to know why? You want to know why the Chinese haven't managed to find out, steal the information, replicate it, and go to the moon the same way to do with absolutely every other bit of kit?
Strange. It's because NASA lost all the tapes.
Yes, NASA lost all the information, so the Chinese couldn't steal it.
What was the other thing I was going to say? Oh yeah, so meritocracy, right?
Yes.
Here's another example of the thumb on the scale yet again, because when they're talking about admissions into various colleges, like the Ivy League colleges, yeah, Rich will be able to explain it better than me, but they have this thing, the standard acuity test or whatever it is, intelligence test or whatever it is. Now, if you're if you're a ordinary white kid, yeah, you've got to, let's just say, I don't know what it is in real money, but let's just say, in order for the Ivy League places to consider you, you've got to get 1,000 points. Yeah. If you're from let's say a slightly lower impulse control, slightly lower IQ variety, I think it goes down. It used to be 800, and they were still struggling then. So I think it's gone like 750. Just to say that you say, yeah, these people qualified completely on merit. These poor buggers here, because if they didn't do it, these people here, like the Southeast Asian and the Southern Asian and the Far East Asians in America and everywhere, because they're so fucking good at this kind of shit, they'd literally have every single place. There wouldn't be any spaces for anybody else because these guys just ace it everywhere. So their test is like, for them to be classed as, oh yeah, you're worthy, they have to have like 1,200 or something. So hey, Rich, everybody's got the bloody thumb on the scale. You know what I mean? These guys have to do 400 points better than the other group in order to be considered. Yeah.
Yeah. No, as a matter of fact, can I jump in?
Please do.
Asian students in the United States are always in like the top 5% of their class. And so what the Marxists did was, like, Harvard just got caught doing this and they got sued and they lost because for the admissions, they were saying, no, we're not going to bring Asians in. Because if we really did do it by meritocracy, it would be all Asians. And here's the thing about the meritocracy thing, right? You remember we had that St. George Floyd riot situation going on for months? Okay.
Yeah.
It was the summer of love. Well, right after that, we started going through a series throughout the entire country where Asian people were getting sucker punched and just the living shit beaten out of them. Like, we're talking old ladies, old men, young people. They didn't care. And it was mostly Black Americans that were doing it. And we're trying to sit back, we conservatives, going, what the fuck is going on here? Why are they doing this? And then we started seeing white people doing it as well. And we looked at them and said, yeah, purple hair. Yeah, they're a Marxist. And we finally realized what was going on. The lib nuts in our country don't believe in meritocracy, but Asians do. The reason so many Asians came here was because they bought into the meritocracy. If you work your ass off, you get the rewards in the end. You work real hard when you're young, and you'll never have to live off the system. You'll get good jobs, and so when they started bringing in this equity bullshit, equity is not equality. Equity is basically government sanctioned racism. And that's what we had in the Biden regime, was government sanctioned racism. And so they realized that the Asians were like, nah, we don't want any of that shit, because you guys already discriminate against us because we do better in math scores, and we look at that. The U.S. math team, I love that, man.
Yeah.
But that's what happened here, and so we had a whole series of attacks that were going on Asian people throughout our country, and I think it ended when there was this Korean woman who I think she was like 72, and this young guy punched her in the face, and she proceeded to beat the living shit out of him, and right there, and he was on a stretcher. When the rescue squad came and the police were talking to her, and he said something to her, and she went to go after him again. It was hilarious. The cops had to hold her back. She was this little old lady, but she beat the hell out of him. She had a cane and just walloped his ass. Yeah, and he was a young guy, too. It was kind of funny. But that's when they stopped doing it.
But she's probably learned how to fight with that cane from she was about 6.
Yeah, I don't know. But all I know is that, yeah, you're right. The meritocracy thing here. The Biden administration put equity guidelines into every single department throughout our federal government. Every single one. It was just incredible what they did. Like, they had things like after COVID, there were these funds that came up for American farmers, right? And that happens a lot. Like, our government says, look, the farmers are some of the most important people in our country, and so we got to take care of them, right? And the farmers, most of them go, I don't really want it, but there's some that do take it. And, well, the commercial ones always take it because those bastards don't know any better. But what happened was the Biden administration very openly and very proudly came out and said, well, the white farmers in America have to wait for the minority farmers to get their money first, and then you'll get your money. And, of course, by the time all that grift and corruption was done, there was no more money left for the white farmers. And this is the United States of America. They actually did that. I could tell you dozens of stories like that. It's just a joke. And we're just so thankful that Trump got rid of it all day one.
That's before you think about all the prosecutions that they're doing to the Amish farmers.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
the likes of Angus Miller and all that, where they're trying to regulate them out of existence and not let them not even feed their own family with the food they've been producing on the farm for years and years and years.
Yep.
They just do not. I get that Joe Biden's white, but by fuck, he hates white people.
He does. Well, you know what? I just think he's like George Soros. He just hates humanity. That's what I believe. I believe he hates humanity because Joe Biden was the last truly racist president we had was Woodrow Wilson. Okay. But Joe Biden was a very racist. Was
Wilson before or after LBJ?
He was way before. Yeah. Wilson was at the turn of the 20th century.
First World War, wasn't he?
Joe Biden couldn't tell you what he's done for the last 3 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I call him Mr. Boiled Potato Brains is what he is.
Do you know what LBJ called a lot of the staff in the White House?
Yeah, you can't say the word on YouTube.
But like
after the word.
after about 7 p.m. whenever his whiskey had kicked in.
Did you ever hear what he said? What he said on the plane when he signed the 64 Civil Rights Bill after he signed it?
No.
He said, I'm going to say the word N-word, okay, so you don't get in trouble.
Yeah, don't worry.
He said, I'll have those N-words voting Democrat for the next 200 years.
Yes.
He said that. And here's the story. Here's the story of that, okay? LBJ did not come up with the 64 Civil Rights Bill. He stole it from Eisenhower. Eisenhower, I believe it was 1958. I think it was 58. He came up with the Civil Rights Bill, and it had teeth to it. In other words, if you didn't comply, you could be charged, you could be fined, and all that, right? He tried to integrate black society with white society. Well, in basic society, okay.
Yeah.
And the Democrats controlled the House and the Senate, which is everything in our country. Okay, president has a lot of power, but the Congress has more, and they whittled it down so bad that there was no teeth in it, and so they all voted against it. And then just a few short years later, Johnson, LBJ, who was a despicable person, by the way, he stole it and then took credit for it. And here's why I call him despicable bastard, because when he did the signing ceremony, he knew that the percentage of Republicans who voted for that bill was higher than the percentage of Democrats, but the number of Democrats in Congress was a lot more than Republicans, because a lot of the Democrats would not vote for it. And he knew, LBJ knew, if it wasn't for the Republicans rallying together to get that bill passed, he never would have got it passed. Yet that bastard did not invite a single Republican to the signing ceremony. He didn't want the world or history to know. Remember, there was no internet back then. He didn't want the world to know that the Republicans had a big hand in getting that passed. So I've always been thoroughly disgusted with our Democratic Party. And there's just stories like that throughout history.
Do you know about the LBJ and the swimsuits?
The swimsuits, did you say?
Yeah.
No, I didn't hear that one.
Oh, he would take female staff members out to buy them swimsuits.
Oh, buy them. Oh, wow.
Yeah, buy them swimsuits, and then whenever they came back to the office with them, then they had to try them on and show them.
Get out of town. Really?
Really?
Well, Joe Biden did something worse. Every morning when he was vice president and then president, he would swim naked. And I mean, we're talking the full buck, full money, right? The female Secret Service agents would complain. And he said, to hell with them, then get them the hell out.
He's copying LBJ because that was an LBJ thing. I think you've heard about Jumbo.
He's pooped again. Somebody get the fucking
the
butterfly net. He pooped again.
Here, Rich, I think you've heard about Jumbo.
Jumbo?
Yeah.
No.
LBJ called his penis Jumbo.
Get out of town. Really?
Yeah. And he
thought big of himself, didn't he?
Well, apparently it was quite large, but he would also bring it out and piss in front. People would be having a meeting with him, and he would bring them with him to the toilet and pull out Jumbo and piss.
Yeah. Well, I heard that. It was actually reporters.
Yeah,
if a reporter would follow you into the men's room, and if it was a female reporter, had the balls to follow you in, he would just piss or shit right in front of them. He didn't care.
Yeah.
And he thought if they wanted to be ballsy enough to come in here, guess what? This is what you see when you go into a men's room.
And there are quite a few women that had to stay at the White House or at LBJ's ranch, and in the middle of the night they would see a bit of movement in the room, and the words that they would hear is, "This is your president, scooch over home."
Oh, wow.
LBJ was a really vile human being.
Well, he was a despicable person. He was a racist, full-blooded, and he used black people. You know what? I won't call him a communist, but the communists, they've always used black Americans for their projects, because who's in America after the slavery? Who's going to trash a politician who's black? That's just, I'm sorry, that's just how it is. And so the communists of all, look what they just did to Trump over the last several years. It was mostly black. The Judge Chutkin, then you had Fani Willis, you had Big Letitia James, Alvin Bragg. All these prosecutors were black communists that they used to go after Trump in the lawfare. So that's always been a thing. But let me tell you something. Woodrow Wilson what the hell was the name of the movie? A Birth of a Nation. Did you ever hear that movie?
Yes, I haven't seen it, but I've heard of it.
It was the anthem movie for the growing of the Ku Klux Klan in the United States. He actually played that inside the White House and invited a shitload of people to come in and watch it, including the Dixiecrats, which were the Dixiecrats were the pro-segregationists and pro-slavery Democrats in the House and Senate, and he brought them in. And yet, this party for years has fooled people into thinking that it was the Republicans that were the anti-black party, when they were the ones that were they were the abolitionist party. And if for no other reason, and you won't hear this in a lot of schools, but if for no other reason, then they did not like, they truly didn't like, it wasn't Christian. Slavery wasn't Christian. But another reason why was because the Democrats, they went through the whole dynasty, the Virginia dynasty. You heard about that?
Yep.
Most of the early presidents were elected from the South. Okay. And they knew that slavery was what was keeping them alive, because like it was powerful, because if you were a slaveholder, you had one vote. But if you had 100 slaves on your property, you had 101 votes, because they were able to take their slave and use it by proxy to vote. That was legal in the South. Right. And so what the Republicans said was, we will never win a national election if we don't get rid of slavery, and plus we have to get rid of it anyway because it's not Christian. And that was the real reason.
Nursing homes now, don't they?
What's that?
They do it in nursing homes now, don't they?
I don't know what you mean.
They harvest votes.
Yeah, the harvest votes from the nursing homes. So if you're running a nursing home with 50 people staying there,
I see what
all
you're
that
saying.
paperwork comes.
The unions do that. Yeah, the unions go into nursing homes here, and they'll look for a dementia patient and who's not totally gone, and they'll say, hey, if you want, I'll do the vote for it. And they call it ballot harvesting.
Yep.
And that's what they call it. Now, ballot harvesting, I was totally against it in the beginning, because that's what they were doing. The way that the Democrats figured this out, they're very clever. They're very evil, but they're very clever. And so they realized that, like, for example, if it's raining on election day, the Republicans going to win, because they won't go out to the polls when it's raining. I'm not kidding either. Or if it's snowing, fuck that, I ain't going to that. Screw that. They owe me. That's how they are, right? They're crazy.
And your elections are always in the winter.
Yes, November. Yes, and so what they learned was, how how many people who were allowed to vote and would vote for us, but they're just freaking lazy, because we created them that way. We got them dependent on the government, so they're lazy. They don't come out. So they said, all right, so what if we go to their house and go, hey, you lazy bastard, sign here and you just voted. I'll take it in for you too. Right? And that's what ballot harvesting was. And we believe that yes, you have a right to vote in the United States, but you should make a freaking effort.
Here, Rich, do you know what they do here?
What's that?
They send the minibus around.
Yeah.
Because all the Republicans, they have to go to work and go and vote.
Yeah,
that is right. That is correct.
There's a lot of places in Belfast where on polling day, you could be sitting there and you got to wrap the door, and it's a member of a political party. And have you been to vote yet? No, right. Well, come on now. I don't want to go now. But here, the minibus is here now. Get your. Well,
they knocked on doors here too. But you know what they did? I don't know if you guys ever heard of a guy named Frank Rizzo. He was the mayor of Philadelphia years ago, when there were a lot of race wars and turf wars in Philly. Anyway, I had volunteered for one of his campaigns, one of his last campaigns before he passed away, and he explained what was called the spigot system here. And what the spigot system was, and computers and COVID really exacerbated the spigot system. But what they would do is, the Democrats, see, you're allowed to, anybody can in the states, you can go to your state and you can say, I'd like to purchase the list of voters. Yeah. And they won't, and you can do that. You can pay for it because it's public.
Yep.
Right? They won't tell you how you voted, but they'll tell you you voted. So they would get that list. And then they would compare that voter roll list for the state of Pennsylvania, say where I live, right? And they would match it up to our USPS, our postal system, and they would also match it up to our Social Security system. Now, why? Because the postal system will tell them, did they move out of the state? And if they did, guess what? They got a voter. And then the Social Security system will tell them whether they died. And if they did, they got a new voter. So they would get tens of thousands of people that moved out of the state or died over the last 4 years between national elections. And then they would go in and start filling out registration forms for those people, but they do a change of address. And so what happened was you would see, and I was a poll watcher for a guy, Rick Santorum. He ran for president. He was a Republican. He was a senator. He was a pretty good senator. Anyway, I was doing poll watching for him. And I remember around 12 noon, about 25 school buses, the yellow school buses we have, 25 school buses lined up outside the polling place. We're like, what the hell is going on? It was loaded with black voters who didn't live in that area. Okay. There were no black people in the entire area. And they would get off the bus, and the first guy off the bus held a handful of index cards. And each person that went in, he handed them an index card. And on that card was who they were at that moment. Yeah. They would go in and go, my name's Tyrone Jones. I would like to vote. And they went, oh, okay, here you go. Let me look him up. Yeah, you're right here. Go and vote. Tyrone Jones either moved out or he died. And so they would do this, and then they'd all get back on the bus and go to the next county and do it all over again. This is how they cheated for 50 years. It's called the spigot system. The 3/5. Yeah, you want to talk about the 3/5? The 3/5 compromise was, if that's what you're talking about, Billy, the 3/5 compromise. Now, a lot of I would call them racist minorities in America. I don't want to get name called, but I would call them racist minorities in America. They would say, yeah, the 3/5 compromise. Your white founding fathers didn't even think that a black man was worth 100% of a person. Well, that had absolutely nothing to do with it. The 3/5 compromise said the founders from the North wanted to end slavery right away. But more importantly, they wanted to build a nation and they wanted to get the Constitution ratified, signed off and ratified. And so the only way they could do that was to work with the Southerners who wanted to keep slavery. So the one thing they were able to do was the 3/5 compromise, because it meant that each slave was only worth 3/5 of a person, meaning 3/5 of a vote. So it cut down the number of proxy votes that a slaveholder was able to do. And so, in other words, the 3/5 compromise that these boneheads over here, like Al Not So Sharpton and Jesse I Have a Scheme Jackson, like they're saying that it was racist. You didn't like, you didn't think that they were full people. Well, no, it was the first anti-slavery thing that was done, and it's literally written in our Constitution.
Yeah, the only thing they were actually going after was the voting rights, and those people did not have voting rights because the person that owned them was exercising that right for them.
Exactly. That's exactly what happened.
Yeah. In which case I would have said there'd be more justified to just say, actually, at this point you can't vote.
Right. Well, and then here's the history here's the very quick history of the Democratic Party. After the war, okay, you had Reconstruction, all right? We had the 13th, 14th, and 15th, or 14th and 15th amendments that came in. And the first was to end slavery. The second, what's he say? Yeah, I do have English in my veins. Yes, I do. I have family in London. I got family in Glasgow, and I have family in Dublin. And believe it or not, now I don't know if this is true because I didn't visit, but I'm part owner of a farm in Glasgow because they said my mother's maiden name is Brooks, and they said any Brooks blood member has an ownership, and from what I understand, that wouldn't get me a cup of coffee, but I could get a job there. So yeah, I do have that blood going through me. So yes, I do. Anyway, so the Democrats then, what they did was they created poll taxes, which you had, if you were black, you had to pay to be able to vote, and it was always it was always an amount that they couldn't afford. Then they had their army. The Democratic Party actually created the Ku Klux Klan, and that was to frighten black people out of voting. There were so many things they did, but like, they said that the devil's greatest trick was to prove people that he didn't exist. Well, that's what the Democrats did, because they twisted the entire thing around and made it look like they were the ones that always supported Black Americans, and that it wasn't the Republicans. And they always used this thing called it was what was it? It was Nixon. It was the Southern strategy. That was it. They always called it the Southern strategy, that the Democrats switched sides with the Republicans. And I'm sitting there going, wait a minute, you dumb motherfuckers, because you're telling me that guys that the grand old party that fought since the 1800s to not only free Black slaves, but then to also reinforce their rights at every chance you got. You gave them the right to vote. You gave them the right to live. You gave them the right to do everything that they could possibly do. Then all of a sudden they went, fuck it, we're just going to swap sides. No, it was a lie. It's a bullshit lie. And that Democratic Party is just as racist as they are today, even though they got a lot of blacks in their party.
It's a very common thread that they keep on accusing us of that which they are doing.
Yeah.
And it's also a very common thread that they've got the history completely arse about face.
Projectionism is what it is.
Yeah. But the other problem is we need to try to figure out where this started and where the actual fact and fiction begins, because while we can all see that what was said about Joe Biden in the press, about him being a competent leader and being healthy and all that, was totally untrue. We can see that Russiagate about Trump was totally untrue.
Yep.
We can see that the narrative around white people being inherently racist being totally untrue. In fact, if anything, it's the other way around. White people are more accepting of an out group than any other ethnicity.
Absolutely.
And what we are not sure about is how far back all these lies go, to the extent where
Nixon, Watergate. They go back to Watergate.
Oh,
that's what they go back to. They go back to Watergate. That's when.
Are you sure? Are you sure they don't go back to the founding fathers?
Well, they go. Well, the founding fathers. Did you ever hear some of the things they wrote about each other in their campaigns?
Yes.
Called him what was he? Called him. It was Adams called Jefferson. Something about he was. What do they call it? A mulatto who grew up on hoe cakes by his slave mother or something like that. They said some really nasty things about each other. It was great to read, but I was like, holy shit, because we hold those guys, at least those guys, up. We revere them because of what they created, right?
Yeah.
It changed the world, what they did. It literally changed the world until the communists fucked it all up, right? But
why did they leave England in the first place?
Why did they leave?
Why did they leave England to come to America?
What we were taught in our American schools was because of religion, because the Church of England was persecuting a lot of people that didn't want to be part of the Church of England, and so they wanted to go somewhere else. So they ventured over to the colonies. They created the colonies here for religious freedom.
It's close, but it's close. It's close. It's close, but it's also scarily wrong.
Tell me, I'm interested.
Right, they were trying to escape the persecution of the Catholic Church, and they believed that the reforms of the Church of England did not go nearly far enough to fully protect them.
Well, now from what I understand, the Church of England didn't they get rid of the Catholics in England? Didn't that king, who the hell was it? The Tudor king? Didn't he say?
Henry VIII.
The
Reformation.
Didn't he? He's the guy that originally wrote the scholastic papers on the Catholic Church, and then he turned on him because he wanted to get laid.
Well, no, he didn't turn on them because he wanted to get laid.
What I heard, he wanted to screw.
Are we still at school with you here? Is that what they taught you at school?
He was married to Catherine, and he wanted to bang.
Right.
He wanted to bang the chick in the movie that had the hella eyes.
Right. Yes. Now there was an issue with the divorce.
He wanted to get the
that
was this the black one? Are we talking
No.
about the black one?
No,
It was
this-
on the telly.
no.
This-
We weren't taught that.
This was after the Spanish Armada that the Pope sent, and it was also after the Catholic Church burning a shitload of Protestants at the stake, and it was mainly over the difference between ruling by divine right or the grace of God. So Henry believed he ruled by the grace of God, therefore he was fallible and had to be careful about what he did and do the best for his subjects. And the Roman Catholic Church was telling him, no, you rule by the divine right of God, and anything that you do is they're obviously correct. And by the way, we're going to tell you exactly what that correct thing is. So the Vatican wanted to, the Vatican was running England via the kings, and there was between all of that, also purgatory, which he disagreed with, and then the divorce was the last straw, and he went, "Fuck this! I'm going to create the Church of England."
Yeah,
but it was.
Yeah, I understand. I know what you're saying, but
the problem is that we're all put that all of that's simply on that he flipped solely on the divorce. But the other thing
we're
that
Americans.
was,
That's how we think.
yeah, but the other thing that he was doing was he was making everybody pick sides, because we had a society where everybody went to the same church.
Right.
So what he said was, there's going to be two churches. One's going to be the official one. You can go and do that other stuff if you want, sort of, after a fashion, provided you keep it quiet. But if you support me, you'll be coming to my church, and that's how I'm going to know who's on my side and who's not, because he really didn't know. And that's what brought out where he was able to, that's probably stage 2 of the divide in the people that currently exists in England and exists in America, whereby you have a whole bunch of people who believe in one rule of law for all, fair play, meritocracy. You should profit from the fruits of your labor. Right. And you've got a bunch on the other side that believe in the rule of lawyers and twisting the word of law to make it applicable to people depending on their circumstances. Right. Will prosecute you, will not prosecute you, and all of that. And the common law thing where you have 2 to 3 different courts, those people, that divide that you still have, because there's similar traits that you have in America, right? Yeah, that begins to get formalized with the Reformation. It's the founding fathers, the pilgrims, they left to get away from all of that and be totally on their own and know that they were going to be secure. And that's why they wanted the church cut from the government, because they were like, whatever we do not want religion to be what's driving our politics, because people end up persecuted.
When you get, see, I like this because every time I come on or even watch your stream, I learn something. I do. But here's the thing. They talked about the separation of church and state, which was Thomas Jefferson, correct? Well, whatever you were taught in school or whatever our government told you was horseshit, because they lied about that. What the separation was about, the Danbury Baptist Church wrote to Thomas Jefferson, said, look, you're the one that came up with the Constitution. You're the one that talked about God and all this. And they said, we need your help because you have the First Amendment. And part of the First Amendment says that you have the right to religion, to practice your religion, right? It's freedom of religion, not freedom from religion. And Jefferson wrote back to them and said, I'm sorry, but I can't help you, because I'm in the federal system and that's a state system. And so he thought about this, right? I don't know if you guys know this, but at the time of our founding, every colony, before they became states, every colony had a charter or a constitution, if you will. And inside their charter, they
Texas still has theirs?
We all do. Well,
Right.
the 13, the original 13. Okay.
Right.
And inside those charters, they mentioned that they had an adopted religion. For example, the state of Virginia was an Anglican state, and in their charter it said, no man being of the Anglican faith can hold public office in the Commonwealth of Virginia. Now, my state, Pennsylvania, was the most liberal state at the time, and it said, no man affirming of a supreme creator can hold office. Okay, so they were very serious about that shit. So Jefferson, when he finally responded to the Danbury Baptist Church, he thought about it and he thought, you know what? We just created this new federal level of government, the federal system, right? And the Congress, they may create their own adopted religion and try to supersede it over that of all the states. So we can't have that. So he and Madison, okay, and Madison, he went with Madison because Madison wrote a lot of the amendments and he wrote a lot of the Constitution. He's known as the father of the Constitution. So they literally toured around the country and talked about, we need to have a separation, a wall of separation. But the wall of separation was this. It was the federal government versus the states and their religions. That's what it was. And everybody understood that all the way through until the 1950s, when some son of a bitch in Philadelphia who belonged to a radical religious group, it was, who the hell were they? The name of their religion begins with a U. It escapes me right now.
And then they twisted the meaning.
Yeah, they went to court and fought, saying that what they meant was, and you had like an atheist on the court at the time. They went to court. I think it was Chief Justice Bazelon. I can't remember, but they had, and they ruled, the court ruled that yes, there is a separation of church and state, but the separation clause, number one, is not in the Constitution. It never was. It was never written law. That's number one. And number two, it was a bad interpretation of our First Amendment. And so everybody started to believe that you can't have a Christmas tree on government property when you absolutely can. And in fact, let me prove that it's wrong, what the new definition is, because Thomas Jefferson actually created a church inside the Capitol building. Okay, inside our friggin' Capitol building, he had a church, and it became so popular that he had to create a second church in our War Department, which would be our Pentagon right now, but in the War Department. And he created a third church inside our Treasury building. Now,
did Nixon also create a church in the White House?
No. But what happened was, it was so popular that over 2,000 worshipers per week were there. Now, Jefferson was a Christian, but he was a non-denominational guy. Okay, so every single week, a minister from a different denomination would actually say the mass.
Right.
Okay. So and then when after he was out, I believe it was either Madison or Monroe, I can't remember, but they continued to use the church. Okay, so you can't say that the guy that came up with the separation clause argument, that he's the same, and that he means that you can't have government inside. Well, he created a freaking church inside government buildings in the Capitol. So that just goes to show it's horseshit, and you can look that up. It's actual history.
Yeah. I think, did Ford possibly use one of the existing churches? Because I know he was a Christian and had services.
No, those churches were shut down eventually inside the buildings. Yeah, they were shut down eventually. Yeah, but yeah. So that basically everything that you hear today about our separation of church and state is horseshit. It's not real. It's just not real. It's a lie.
I'm shocked.
Well, that's like the whole Constantine thing. You familiar with the story of the gift of Constantine, Emperor Constantine?
The last emperor, first pope.
Yeah.
Whenever they swapped the Roman Empire over,
Constantine was the guy that the Roman Empire was dying under, because now they were always the aggressor, but now you had the barbarians that were attacking all four corners. And so he had 50 different sects of Christians running around that he was persecuting, right? Yep. So he said, you know what? Screw this. I'm going to create a universal church, and all you guys are going to be under me. Meanwhile, he never became a Christian. He
on his deathbed, he did.
Well, they say that, but you know what else they said on his deathbed? that he gave. It was called the gift of Constantine. And the gift of Constantine was that Constantine said that from now on, the Pope has the right to ordain kings and queens and royalty throughout Europe.
Yep.
And they were like, wow, very cool. And so this went on for hundreds of years.
Oh,
right?
This is also part of the Henry thing, because at that point, the Pope had decreed that if any king could take England, the Vatican would recognize them and make them the legal Pope,
right,
or legal king of England.
Right. But then here's the problem with this. It was years later, hundreds of years later, that they realized it was a hoax. That in the 1100s, a friar with a sense of humor from, I think, southern France, I can't remember, but he made it up. He created the document. He knew how to make it look old, the paper. He used fire and he did something to the paper, and the whole thing was a lie. And so they tried to keep it quiet, because what would that mean? What would that mean? It would mean that every king and queen that was ever ordained by the church was false, because there was no such rule. And so all the laws that were created by that royalty throughout all the rest of Europe from the time of Constantine would not be real. That's what that's literally what the argument was. I just found that. I don't know if it's true or not, guys. This is what I read. This is what I sat in and watched documentaries on.
Was Constantine still a head butt cat at the Council of Nicaea?
He was the one that suggested the
Council of Nicaea 325 AD.
Yes, he was the one, because his bishops, if you will, came to him and said, "How are we supposed to compete with these other religions that are out there? We don't have any dogma." He went, "Well, make it up." So that's literally what they did.
Well, it wasn't that they didn't have any dogmas; they had too many variations of it. So they brought everybody to a place called Nicaea in 325 AD, and they decided upon the date of Easter. They decided upon the date of Easter. They decided that there was a resurrection. They decided which books would go into the New Testament and which books would be discarded.
Right.
I think the trilogy. Oh yes, and they decided that there would be a Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. And then they set and they created the thing called the Nicene Creed, which is the basics of your Anglican religion, which goes something very much like remembering from a 9-year-old.
Yeah.
I believe in the Father Almighty, maker of heaven and earth, all things visible and invisible.
Right.
I believe in his only Son, our Lord Jesus Christ, who was born of the Virgin Mary, suffered under Pontius Pilate, was crucified and buried. He descended into hell. On the third day, he arose from hell to sit at the right hand of the Father, from where he shall judge the quick and the dead. I believe in the communion of saints. I believe in the forgiveness of sins.
The resurrection.
And the resurrection.
The life
amen.
Of the world to come. Amen. Yes.
Yeah, life ever after. Amen. Yep. That all came from this big powwow that they had in Nicene, and decided upon all these things that we now know as our Christian religion at the beginning of it. And then that was unified throughout all the churches, and off they went. And then they've had several powwows since then where they've added other bits and pieces. The fish and the Friday thing, because they wanted to tax the fishermen. So, and the big thing about the Reformation was the Pope had the ability to create sins out of whole cloth. Like something that was not a sin yesterday could become a sin today, just by the Pope decreeing that, such as eating fish on a Friday. And the Reformation was mainly about keeping out things that were not in the Scripture. So if it wasn't in the Scripture, you couldn't just make it up out of whole cloth, which is what the Vatican were doing.
Wow. Yeah, my parents sentenced me to 12 years of Catholic school, so I know all that.
Well, I had the I had the other version of that. I had Ulster Loyalist Protestant school. So it's the same the same as Catholic school, only with
Do you have a catechism or a Bible?
Bible.
Yeah, we did catechism. We never
Yes,
did the Bible for some weird reason.
Oh, I'll tell you why. Because Catholics aren't allowed to read the Bible, mate.
Yeah, well,
That's
I
a
read
priest's
it every
job.
day. I'm not a Catholic anymore, though.
Yeah, but that's yeah, ban your way out of sin was the other big thing. Purgatory. I can't remember the term I have for it, but I was brought up Church of Ireland, and I had it double because my family were very traditional.
Mine too.
And so I got taught all this shit properly. And although I'm actually quite pleased about it because
I am too.
I learned more about how the country works in Sunday school than I did in Monday to Friday school.
When I graduated from Catholic school, from Catholic high school, and started entering the world, I'm just saying, guys, I actually realized that I knew a lot more than my brethren that went to public schools in the United States. My Catholic school teachers taught me far better than my friends, even my brother, Jimmy from Philly, who got kicked out of Catholic school, by the way. Even him. I'm surprised he's not here because I told him about this, but he probably forgot. But let me just say this. I don't dislike the Catholic Church. I still respect. I'm not a member anymore, but I still respect them because in my country, and they say around the world, but I only know about my country, that in my country, there's no other organization that did more charity work than the Catholic Church in the United States. They've helped more people that needed it because of our corrupt government. So that's why I still respect the Catholic Church.
Look, here's anybody that writes off a whole church is obviously getting something wrong because there's no
an anger issue.
Yeah. There's no one church that's all bad.
Right.
I have issues with their teachings, and I have issues with my issues are not so much with the Catholic Church, but the people who organize the Catholic people, which is not always the church, by the way.
Right. Right.
You know, and it's very easy. It's very easy to knock a church. It's very easy to knock ministers, but I think that the very fact that the overwhelming vast majority, I'm talking 99.2% of them, got involved with that because they wanted to do something good. And also, people are going to embrace the religion they're born with most of the time.
Yep. What you're born into, yes.
Yeah, it's going to be what you believe to be right because that's what it is. Anybody that, please be advised, anybody that was born in a Christian family or whatever family and decides that they're atheist, just remember you're moving a little bit away from yourself.
Right.
And the further you move away from yourself, the less well your life's going to work.
That is absolutely true. Absolutely true.
What I have found, I have issues with post-traumatic stress disorder and all sorts of stuff in the past and whatnot. The last 2 years, I've been attempting to live more and more like my father lived, and the more I get there, the happier I'm feeling.
Hey, what's up, Buzzy? Good.
Yeah.
Oh, I get that. Me, I left the church. I'm what would be considered a born again Christian, but I'm not an evangelical. I don't go out there, God loves you. No, I don't do that shit. But I am considered a born again. I go to a born again church, and they read the Bible. They live off the Bible. They believe that everything you want to learn is in the Bible, as far as God is concerned. That's what they believe, and that's where I'm at right now. So, but I still remember everything from Catholicism. I'll never ever lose that.
Oh fuck!
All I will say is this: is I would consider I was baptized in the Church of England, as were most kids in where I was in that, yeah. And I consider myself to be a Christian, but I'm not. I don't. I'm left cold by doctrine. So I am of the opinion that if you're a Christian, it's the same bloke. It's the same people. It's the same bloke. I don't give a shit who you are or what you worship. Now they all have a problem, but I don't. You see,
Right.
I'm sort of, I am. I do genuinely believe that there is a God. I really do.
I do too. Yeah, absolutely.
But I'm not. I don't want to be confined and constrained
Right.
by what one man says over what another man says.
I believe it's very personal. A person's religion is very, very personal between you and your God.
Now,
that's where I am. Yeah.
Here's where I'm at. I believe that any creator that sees everything, knows everything, hears everything, really doesn't need to take attendance on a Sunday morning. And you can probably have if it's in your nature to be isolationist and do it on your own, you can have that relationship with him on your own. However, those people that go to a church on a Sunday morning, they're not getting it wrong either, because that's what works for them.
Right.
And you gotta let people within a basic framework find the way that works for them, because there's none of this is simple.
Right. And I went through the whole. Do you know what the apologist is? What an apologist is? Has nothing to do with apologizing, right? Yeah, the apologist is the person that studies the logic of Christianity and can answer the arguments or the questions that non-Christians, that atheists give. And I used to get into debates with people, and I would remain calm because I didn't care. I'm just talking to a person, but they would get so freaking angry with me, start threatening me. So I said, you know what, I'm not doing this anymore.
Yeah. It's a scary one. You can open a whole can of worms,
That's correct, Billy Blogs. That's correct. You don't need a church to pray. Right.
No.
Like a lot of people like Thomas Jefferson, right? A lot of people said he was a deist. He's a deist. He was a Christian. And in fact, he wrote his own Bible. That is just it's called the Jefferson Bible. I have it like right on the table over there. And it was just the words of Jesus. That's what his Bible was. And a lot of people bought it, and it was good. It was called the words in red, right?
Yeah.
The Jesus words. And that's what he did. But he didn't believe in an actual, like a church, like a religion church to join, because he was very personal for him. And so he lived his life like that. But everybody called him a deist. And then our liberals tried to say that most of our founders were deists. It's horseshit. Most of them were very devout Christians. Most of them.
Yeah. Lothar, I am not sure. Confused. Wasn't Aquinas that invented the idea of purgatory? I'm honestly not sure who it was started that grift. And for those of you that don't know, the idea of purgatory is whenever you die, you go to either heaven or hell. You go to some form of waiting room where presumably they give you a nosy at heaven and hell every 5 minutes. Like you'll stick your nose in through the door. Right. And at some time they'll post you off to wherever you're going to. But if your family here on earth give the right priest or cardinal or whatever the right amount of money, they can speed up that process and even guarantee you entrance into heaven. That's how purgatory works. I'm not sure who it was come up with that grift. But
I thought that you went to purgatory if you self-deleted yourself.
No, everybody goes.
Well, Augustine and who was it? Gregory the Great, I think it was. They talked about it.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. Sorry. So what you're saying basically is every single person
Yep.
who
And
dies goes to purgatory. Yeah?
Well, under the
Not all of
Catholic,
it, you could.
under the Catholic
Right.
Church,
Right.
Now,
and
this
Church of Ireland,
is
so I don't believe in it.
this
Well,
is unjust, and
It
this
goes
is
back to the
unfair.
Maccabees, actually, believe it or
Well,
not.
this is unjust and this is unfair
Mm-hmm.
because I come from fucking Stoke, so I've already been to purgatory.
It's like I was like Sam Kinison. I've been. Oh, you never been to hell? Well, oh wow. You were married 3 times. Oh, come on, I'll give you the tour anyway. Remember that?
Oh, have you
Satan
seen
up
this? Have you seen this? It's sand. It's sand. In 100 years, you know it's going to be fucking sand.
Yeah. He died way too young, man.
To this day, and I don't know if we get a strike, but to this day, one of the funniest sketches I ever saw was Sam Kinison's "Lonesome Tonight." That is absolute comedy gold.
Now it comes full circle, Sensum. Do you know what he did prior to going into becoming a comedian?
Was he an Elvis impersonator?
He was a preacher.
Oh, really?
Oh,
well, yeah.
He was
Yeah. Well, that explains the screaming in that.
Right. And that's when he did that whole and bring you to Jesus. That's why he did that so well, because when he did his jokes that way. But what happened was his brother said when he was a kid, he was very much into the Bible and all that, right? And that he knew he was going to be a preacher because both their parents were. And then he got hit by a car and he nearly died. And when he came out of that, he was a different person. And he became the crazy Sam Kinison that we know of today. But he went on to follow his family tradition and he became a preacher. And that's how he learned how to speak well to an audience too.
Yeah.
Right. And he had this dark nature of him. And they say because of the accident, something happened to his brain. He got hit in the head when he had the accident. And then he just became the Sam Kinison that we all know and love. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know the Lonesome Tonight? The Elvis. It's absolute comedy gold, guys. If you haven't seen it, you've got to watch it.
How long is this?
Go ahead.
How long is this thing? Is it like a quick thing that I could play?
No, well,
I don't think you could. You might get a strike.
Yeah,
you could probably get away with the first few minutes, and then you start laughing. You could probably get that.
The best one was when he said, "Did you hear what the gays are doing now?" Where they go into, I can't say the whole thing. He goes where they go into a morgue, and they pay the guy for like 20 minutes with the person, a dead guy, and he goes now. He goes, this is what they're doing, guys. He goes, now, can you imagine you're dead, you're lying there on the slab, and he's like sideways, and he goes, and you're thinking to yourself, all right, I guess I'm gonna go meet my creator now. I'm glad I got that life insurance for the family, and then oh Jesus Christ, what the hell's going on? What the hell is this doing? They didn't even get to when you're fucking dead. Ah! It was hilarious.
Oh fuck!
That's the kind of humor he did. But think about that. He used to be a preacher.
Well, it's that voice, that booming. That's what you needed. You're gonna go to hell. You're gonna burn in hell. But I'll tell you now, right? You lads are, red-blooded individuals. So when you hear somebody use the term a 10, yeah,
yep.
I think that I'm a 10, yeah,
yep.
But it's like, a 10. They didn't do a film. It was like Bo Derek was the 10.
10.
It was Dudley Moore.
Yeah. 10.
So we've got a legitimate 10 here, and so I'll share this screen, and this is courtesy of the Whatever podcast, and this is just for commentary. But I think we should.
This isn't Godzilla, is it?
No.
Or
no.
What was it you called that bitch?
Gorlock the Destroyer.
Gorlock the Destroyer. Which one? Yeah, that's the one there.
Yeah. So here we go. And for anybody who can't, I don't know if I'll be able to zoom into this. No, because it's one of these bloody shorts. But this isn't. These white dots, let's just say, they're not accidents of the video footage. It's metal, basically. But anyway, this is a 10. Oh, wow. Here we go.
Okay, ask everyone to rate their looks on a scale of 1 to 10. Go ahead.
I think I'm a 12. Yeah. Like, 7.5. 8.
I'm a 7.
8.
8. 7.5. 8.
Okay. So you're a 12.
Yeah. I love your confidence.
Is it confidence or delusion?
It's definitely confidence.
This guy's good.
I think that
Probably.
I am the most prettiest girl in the world.
You're 25, right?
Yeah.
Do you think you'll be more attractive in 10 years than you are now?
Yeah.
Do you think you'll be more attractive in 20 years?
Yeah.
30 years?
Yeah.
Okay, now you're just
No, I'm a magic
So you'll
person,
be
right?
55. Yeah,
like
okay.
a manifestation baddie
Yep.
or whatever you want to call it. I feel like I've been manifesting that I just keep getting hotter. And so whenever I look at myself, I just feel like I'm getting hotter.
What about when you're 75 in 50 years?
Be honest.
Probably just the same, honestly.
Bro, you're delusional.
what
Okay,
you
ask
were-
everyone.
I'm a solid 8, by the way.
You're
everybody.
on and all the
Definitely a solid 8. Richard, you're a 9.
I'm a 2 and I'm being generous.
I've never
And
been told. I've never
I'd be a
told
0
anything
I'd be
above
a
a
0 if I
6.
didn't have a job.
Like what she's failing to understand is a basic rule of nature that the most valuable commodity on this earth is female youth and beauty. In fact, had it not been for female youth and beauty, we would be living in mud huts and going about in carts pulled by oxes with zero suspension, because all of that shit was created to impress someone with female youth and beauty. See, the
Right.
first caveman that got the floor of his cave all covered in fucking animal hides, so it was nice and comfortable. He did not do that for himself. He did that for the hot cave woman across the road to try to get her in. And the driving force of the whole economy is female youth and beauty. She thinks she's still going to have it at 75. Fuck away off and get your hair checked out.
Oh man, this woman, you could tell. I mean, she's a hot mess right there.
Yep.
So she's a 12, right? That's why she's wearing the effed up ears. Has 2 colors of hair, if that's not a wig. Has the bones in her hair, probably a bone in her nose, and then she's got all those little steel things that if she went through a CAT scan, her face would be ripped off. She's got psychological problems, obviously.
Can you imagine how angry she is all day long?
Oh man, can you imagine? Wow.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine the trial she has trying to put a woolen jumper on?
I got caught again. Oh man, I wonder if she takes him out at night. Can you imagine? Give me an hour.
Right, well, you know, if you ever wondered what it was like to get a blowy off a cheese grater, there's your lady. There's your lady.
Oh man, can you imagine a hot August night with that? Oh no.
Oh fuck.
No. No.
Oh no, the hot cave one was not Fred's missus. It was Barney Rubble's missus was the hot one.
Betty, but not in the fucking film. Not in the film, Rosie
was
O'Donnell.
like-
You're fucking joking, aren't you?
Oh no,
Jesus.
not in the film. In
You
the
guys are actually doing this. Okay.
in the
From the
original
honeymooners. You
cartoons.
realize they were from the honeymooners, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Great.
One of
show.
these days, Alice.
Bang to the moon. Yeah.
Oh no, fuck! I'm talking about the original cartoons.
Cartoon, yeah. That
where-
was based on the honeymooners, yeah.
Yeah. The honeymooners was
Jackie
where
Gleason.
it was. Yeah. It was the Flintstones, the Jetsons, and there was one other that took the concept from the
Top
honeymooners.
Cat. Well, no, the Top Cat was Phil Silvers, wasn't it?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think
Phil
so,
Silvers show, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, Phil Silvers. What was his army show?
Who? Oh,
Sergeant Bilko.
Sergeant Bilko.
yes,
that
Sergeant
was
Bilko, yes.
that was
Top
class.
Right.
Yeah. Sergeant Bilko. Fucking,
Because that's the base Top Cat on Sergeant Bilko. Nah, Officer Dibble.
Oh man, they don't make shows like that anymore.
I tell you now, I think we're roughly the same sort of similar sort of age. But when I was a kid, in sort of like the late when I started watching, it was like it might have even been one of those cartoons that was a lot older, but you saw it when you're about 8 or 9.
Yeah.
And I used to love a cartoon that was out of the States called "Wait Till Your Father Gets Home."
Oh
I
yeah,
used to love that cartoon.
yeah,
It was brilliant.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. The nostalgia stream has started.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what, Hollywood, they haven't had an original idea in like 60 years. They steal all your shit. You know that, right?
Oh fuck!
Yeah.
They steal almost everything you guys came up with.
Well,
Well,
what
I
what happens? What happens whenever you dumb down the education system to the point whereby your people who have studied film, drama, and all that have got fuck all creativity,
Yeah.
and any creativity that they could have had, you've took away because it may be a little bit edgy.
Right.
You've got nothing left, so the only thing you can do is take what's been and bastardize it.
Yep. Yep. And because it was America, they had all the money in the world to buy the rights to it. That's what they did. And they stole an awful lot of shit, man. Because when I found out there was a Shameless, that was a Brit show first, I was like, oh, God, I had to watch that whole series, too. I
and
don't
The
know if you
Office.
guys liked it.
And The Office.
The Office, yeah, and that's another one. There was one where the woman, it was a guy dressed as a woman. That was hilarious. He was sort of heavy, had the grandma hair. Oh, it was hilarious. And I think
This is Brown's
Just
Boys.
recently got a show called Utopia about a virus.
I don't think that was it.
Yeah, like in the last 4 or 5 years.
Okay, no, this was older. This was like in the 70s.
So
I know
they're-
you guys started All in the Family as well. You guys
Yeah.
created All in the Family, and we stole it.
Yeah.
Not an original idea in 60 years came out of Hollywood.
I was trying to think. I was trying to think of, in recent memory, what would probably be, the most original film. And I'm going back, and I was thinking, well, I think it was it 97 or so was Event Horizon. That was pretty original horror film.
Yeah.
I think The Matrix, when The Matrix first came out, was it 99? That was very original.
99, yeah.
Yeah.
And then after that, the next film after that I can think of was Pitch Black with Vin Diesel in. And then since then, everything seems to have been a sort of a thinly veiled remake of something else. Like everybody, wets the knickers over Avatar, but Avatar was Dances with Wolves in space, wasn't it?
Yep.
Yeah.
It literally was. You know what I mean? It was. It literally was.
Dances with Wolves was a cracking show.
Dances with Aliens, except this time, wasn't it?
Yeah.
With Avatar, but yeah.
The Maze Runner was good too. Did you guys ever watch that?
Yeah, that was pretty good. And yeah, because there was a spate of those films where it was there was the Hunger Games, then there was the Maze Runner, and then there was that sort of what was it, Divergent? These all sort of. But then, like I say, once one had been out, they all piled in on each other. But the thing is, the Hunger Games was based on Battle Royale, effectively, which was a Korean/Japanese film.
Huh.
Have you ever seen it, Battle Royale?
Monkeys was good too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But once again, that's what, mid-90s?
Was that 11 Monkeys?
12.
Or 12 Monkeys?
There's a movie and a TV show.
Brad Pitt and
Yeah.
Bruce Willis, Madeline Stowe.
Oh, do you remember Monkey, the TV show?
Oh, I
The
love
Monkeys,
Monkey.
yeah.
No, not the
No.
Monkeys.
Monkey,
the Kung Fu one.
Yeah,
Oh,
the
no.
Kung Fu one. Yeah.
Where
Oh,
he
no,
flew about in a cloud and got
Mobile.
parachuted into all sorts of battles and chopped
cool.
everybody up like the water margin.
Oh, I used to love the water margin. I used to like me Jap slapping films. I really did.
Oh yeah,
it was great stuff.
Wow.
Yeah. It's even to this day one of my favorite films of all time is Enter the Dragon. I absolutely love that film. I know
really?
I watched it that many times as a kid. I thought it was
Nice.
Loved
Yeah.
it.
Well, we grew up in the States when I was a kid on a Saturday. You didn't have to go out all day because and our parents were like, get the hell out of the house till dinner. But,
tell me this: in
Boomer
America,
parents.
in America, did you get the banana splits on a Saturday morning?
Yeah.
Yes, we did. Yeah. And as a matter of fact, they went down to the Philly airport, and my father took Jimmy from Philly and me down to meet them, the Banana Splits, one time.
Yeah,
and I was very disillusioned because I got shoved up close to one of them, and he hugged me, and I looked up and I saw that it was just a fucking helmet. I saw a real guy up there, and I'm like, this is all fake. For real.
Yeah, and they'd open the door to the house, and there'd be these two Spanish kids playing the guitar and singing la 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 la.
Yeah.
Then the clothes.
We had them. Who the hell else? We had a lot of stupid stuff. But yeah, the Banana Splits were funny because it was silly, and they played cartoons and all. They were silly though.
I loved the thing I liked about the Banana Splits was they had those 6-wheel vehicles.
Yeah,
the all-weather, all-terrain vehicles. They were mint. I wanted one of them. Where'd you get them from? Not here, but it's mint. I want one. Looks great because you drive it like a tank, but it's got wheels and you go in the water and everything. Yeah. You can't buy them, son.
Some of them
not
were
here anyway.
what the hell were some of them? You know those dune buggies?
Yeah.
Some of them were like mini dune buggies.
Yeah.
It was called a cat. You could actually get them.
Weren't they military originally though? They were sort of some kind of military thing originally, weren't
they? Were one-man military buggies. You go in.
I wanted one. Yeah, want that one.
That's my boy.
Want that one?
Tim, that's my boy.
Oh, hello.
Mags. What's up, buddy?
Oh, Max.
Magni. I call him Mags. M-A-G-S. Magni is
Max.
his name, but yeah, sorry.
Oh,
he just got up. His honor just got up. Come on.
Because I know a German Shepherd actually called Max. That's why I always thought. Yeah. He salutes on the morning.
That lipstick case going on, right? Yeah. He does that too. I'm like, put it away, dude. We got him fixed, and sometimes he gets excited around girl dogs, but he doesn't know why. Bastard. Yeah, but we used to, and we would grow up. When we were growing up, we would watch on Saturdays. You had several Abbott and Costello movies. Then you had Jackie Chan movies. Then you had the horror movies.
Yeah.
You could spend all day long watching TV on Saturdays. But my mother would come into my bedroom at like 8 o'clock on a Saturday and take the drapes and the sun was, and she'd be like, you have 1/2 hour to go downstairs and get something to eat and then get the hell out of the house and don't come back until dinner. Trying to wake up, get the hell out. That's what she would do. Today, you wouldn't do that. You're a helicopter parent today. You have to hover around your kid because you fear that there's so many freaking creeps in the world, what they would do to your kids. So that's life.
The interesting thing is, the reality is that the world has become increasingly safer as time has went on. But the fear level around children has increased for some reason. There's something not right there.
Well, there's did you ever see Sound of Music, or what was it called?
Yes.
Freedom, Sound of Freedom.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Well, the United States is the worst country in the world for that.
Perpetrator for that, yeah.
They're the worst, and the reason why
300.
We have more money.
300,000. It's 300,000 kids
to do it. That's why. So
Rich, you'll know the stats better than me. Isn't this like 300,000 kids have disappeared, shall we say?
Yeah, missing. Yeah,
having their hair sniffed, shall we say?
Oh,
our last president would do that.
Yeah. Do you know how those kids got to be where they are? Because down at the border, you had NGOs telling people that were crossing into the country, grab yourself a child, claim it's yours, and we'll speed up your asylum.
Because you had parents that would send them from 1,000 miles away down in South America.
But you've all these people that go into the system, and the first thing that happens is the parents and the children are separated. Then whenever the supposed parents have finished processing, they get told, you can go to X facility and pick up your child. And they're like, what child? I don't have one.
Yeah.
Because they were not there. Yeah, they just leave, and then these children are not then being picked up because their actual parent was never with them.
What I want to know, 40, is who the hell is the son of a bitch that then takes those abandoned kids and sells them?
Yeah.
I mean, they're in the custody of the U.S. government, but they get sold by the hundreds of thousands each year. They get sold into slavery, and apparently, it is the what is it? The Hispanic children are sold into the sex slavery, and the others are all sold into the working slavery. They're the guys that make all the little toys and the little shit things, or
Yeah.
they manufacture stuff in the.
Well, you see, if you smuggle drugs,
it's evil. You're right, Sheila.
If you smuggle drugs or weapons or anything or a commodity across the border, you can sell that once. If you get a child, you can sell that 1,000 times.
Yep, and they don't care. There was a who the hell was it? Was it PMB or PMD? It's that Iranian guy that has a channel, and he's pretty big. He used to be in marketing, whatnot. Well, anyway, he interviewed not long ago a woman who survived the sex trade, and
is that sorry, Rich? Is that the bloke who sounds like he's like an Italian sort of mobster?
Yeah, he looks like that. Yeah, but he's from Iran, actually. He
I know that.
10 years of his life, he was in Iran. His parents escaped. And,
have you seen the film The Kite Runner?
The Kite Runner? Yeah.
You know that.
Yeah, it is, Pam. You're right.
This
Pam.
is the level of regard they have for kids in that country.
Yeah. Well, this guy, he interviewed a woman who it was recent too, and she told her entire story. Her mother sold her. Her mother was a junkie and sold her she was like 9 years old, and she said that they didn't do anything sexually to her for like the first 4 years. What they were doing was they were breeding her and grooming her to learn how to behave around billionaires, like in posh society. We're talking the Rothschilds and the Roosevelts and all them, right? And the Rockefellers and the Clintons, and how they have like 15 forks, 7 knives, 2 spoons, whatever, for every single course. Well, she had to learn what each of them were. She had to learn how to behave. She said that they treated her like shit. The only people that were nice to her in these big mansions, she was going one mansion to the next because she had lessons in every one. You couldn't stay there more than like 3 days because people would talk and they were afraid the cops would come. And here, the only people that spoke to her nicely were the people that were like the wait staff, the maids, the cooks, stuff like. They were very sweet to her, but everybody else just treated her like shit until they started training her for the sex. And then they treated her like a person, believe it or not. They're forcing her to do that, and they treat her. So she went on and told a lot. You should look for that video and watch.
Oh, yes. I need to watch that.
But drinking, do a binge drinking during it because you're going to need it because it's sad. There's a lot of sad. But you can, and like he put pictures up and he goes, is any one of them here? The main guy. And she closed her eyes. She goes, yeah, he's right up there. And he's like, you're not going to tell me? She goes, no. But eventually she did. It was Rockefeller. It was David Rockefeller. She said, David Rockefeller is a 100% pedophile. She goes, and when I met him, he didn't push himself on me right away. She goes, it took like 3 times of meeting with him for him to try something. And I was like, God damn. It was sad.
Here, Rich, have you seen the documentary Open Secret?
Yeah.
About Hollywood?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was, and you know who that guy was? He was a stunt man who got hurt. But he made a lot of money being a stunt man. Okay. He was like one of the top stunt men, and he got hurt so bad in one of his stunts that he couldn't do it anymore. So he wanted to do something. And so he then realized that he got invited to some parties because of who he was. He was like very well known. He got invited to some parties, and they were just sick bastards that were, it's like, it was like that other movie that had, what the hell was it? It began with a V, and it had Tom Cruise in it, and they went to these
Vanilla Sky.
Thank you. No, it was something else. It was where they held like the little mask up there.
You're talking about Eyes Wide Shut.
Eyes Wide Shut.
That's it. Eyes Wide Shut. That's exactly it. And this guy that did Open Secrets, he said that was Hollywood mirroring real life. He said, and who else talks about this? Mel Gibson talks about it a lot.
Yeah, we still don't know what the original ending for Eyes Wide Shut was going to be.
Right. There were several. Yeah, but he said that he said that he saw this and he said, I have to do something. And they tried to stop him.
Yeah.
They attacked him. They tried to stop him. They tried to have him arrested for things he didn't do just to get him off the project. But he did finish it, as you know.
Yeah, and you can only really find it on Vivo.
Yeah, these. I'll tell you what. I did a video on the other one we just talked about. The Christ, my
Eyes
brain.
Wide Shut.
No, the one that on the border where they took the girls and all this. Sound of Freedom. Yeah.
Right.
I actually did a video on that, and it was a review. And a lot of people liked it, what I did, because I did not.
Right.
Like, I went off on these sicko bastards.
I'm going to play my music video that came from Sound of Freedom.
I'd love to see it.
Hopefully, I had some tech issues, but hopefully this is going to work, and we'll give this a go. Video file. Please work.
Gets darker. The deeper you go down.
The path of the righteous man is beset on all sides by the iniquities of the selfish and the tyranny of evil men. Blessed is he who in the name of charity and goodwill shepherds the weak through the valley of darkness, for he is truly his brother's keeper and the finder of lost children. And the finder of lost children.
You will need a light to guide you, and an angel to walk beside you. A day you go down. You want to know the truth, don't you?
I find the evil and the greedy under every turn of rock, where I spit out the truth, the establishment mock. From all sides, I watch the opposition grow, trying to terminate the information flow. But the good book reminds me that I am blessed, protected and guided during every quest. In the valley of darkness, my way is clear. I carry a big stick and I show no fear. So prepare yourself for eternal damnation. In your nest of vipers I found my vocation. Are we so deaf that we cannot hear the screams of the children? Are we so blind that we cannot see? We are living in the depths of depravity. Are we so inept we let monsters roam, fueled on power and adrenochrome? Are we so weak we cannot fight back, beholden to our masters? May let them go. The path of the righteous man is beset on all sides by the iniquities of the selfish and the tyranny of evil men. But blessed is he who in the name of charity or goodwill shepherds the weak through the valley of darkness. For he is truly his brother's keeper and the finder of lost children. The finder of lost children.
path of the righteous man is beset on all sides by the iniquities of the selfish and the tyranny of evil men. But blessed is he who in the name of charity or goodwill shepherds the weak through the valley of darkness. For he is truly his brother's keeper and the finder of lost children. The finder of lost children. Lost children. The finder of lost children. The rabbit hole. I dare you to go down.
That was good.
There we go. That's the Ballad of Ballard. The music in that's by Al Mack. The video is all the walking footage video. That's me and Emma G. Emma G did a chunk of that video one. That's obviously me with the backpack on.
That was good. Makes you think, man. That's what I like about your videos. It makes you think.
Yeah. The gremlins go mad. We have another project underway. It's going to be wrapped up quite soon.
Cool.
Very hopeful about that. Those two gentlemen above you are also involved, or beside you and above you, Pakka and Sanson, and we hopefully that's going to come out soon. That'll be the next one.
Yeah, have you seen when you were on last month when we did the end of the month stream last week? Did you play Eats the Bugs 42?
I don't think we could get it to work.
All right, okay.
I'll give it a go now.
If you no, don't do it now. But play us out with that one. Yeah. Play us out with Eats the Bugs because I love that one as well.
Yeah. It's starting to be quite the odd. Oh fuck! You know the weirdest thing? Justice Kane, the other musician that's involved in this.
Yeah,
he is a full-time gigging musician. So is Al, by the way. He's running a festival at the minute. As we talk, Justice Kane has an album, and there's 2 or 3 of my tracks that are on it. Yeah. I'd be lying in the house or in the bath as I tend to do, hot bath, cold beer, stick an album on, just chill out, and one of my songs comes on, and it's still catching me by surprise because I'm like, what the fuck am I doing this proper music video? It's weird as fuck, mate.
Brace.
But I'm loving it. I'm really enjoying it. I've been writing poetry for over 10 years, and now I've got other people that can take what I've written and put that on another stage forward and add to it. And I'm absolutely loving the community and the creativity of it all. I'm very pleased with that. And that's what I'm going to be leaving behind me. Yeah. So that was out of the Ballad of Ballard, which is the film. Fuck. Can't even remember the name of it now. The only name that's coming to my head's Open Secret, but that's not the one. The one about the border where the CIA guy went in. What was that film? Sorry. I fucking can't remember. We were talking about it earlier.
The CIA guy.
Sound of Freedom.
Yeah.
Sound of Freedom. Don't know what you mean. Rex. Yeah, I've managed to fucking totally confuse you. Yeah, no, that Ballad of Ballard was about that film where the guy went in to save the kid that was being trafficked. That's where I came from. But it's all very It's all very interesting.
Yeah, 2,000 Mules was good, Bass.
Oh, do you know what I want? I want the follow-up 2,000 Convictions.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's never come like, has it?
I have a buddy who his name's Mark Davis. I interview him from time to time. He's a Republican consultant down in Georgia, and he's a data guy, and he owns it's Data Productions Incorporated. He just does data, and so the Trump legal team in 2020 asked him to analyze the voter data because they had all the voter data, and he did, and he found 6 different ways that the Democrats cheated, but he had one that he could definitely prove, but it would take time. But long story short, but yeah, and what's it called? He got into a whole bunch of stuff, and one of the things he did, he was sued by Stacey Abrams' group called Fair Fight.
Yep.
And it was and he was lumped in with True the Vote. You're familiar with them, right? Because
yes.
They're the guys that had the geo fencing that 2,000 Mules was based on.
Yep.
And they proved beyond a shadow of a doubt that they cheated, that election was stolen. There's no doubt. And I bring him in a lot to go over newer data that he found. But the way that he actually proved it was in Georgia, just like in most states, if you move, well, you move out of the state, you can't vote. But if you move from we have counties, right? If you move from one county to another and you don't let the state know by re-registering in that new county within 30 days of the election, you can't vote. And there's a reason for that, because you're voting for your county commissioner, for your county sheriff, for all these, school district, school board people and all that. And so what he found was there were 300 and some thousand people who moved from one county to the other during the election. Out of that, about 32,000 never told the state.
Yeah.
And they voted. And the way he discovered that was he took their addresses and names and he went against the postal system, because while people won't tell the state, hey, I moved to a new county, they want their mail, right?
Yeah.
They want their daily mail. So they go to the post office and they file that, I'm moving on this date.
Yep.
And so
redirect that mail.
Yeah. And he kept matching it until he said, okay, so they did move. And here's the date that they moved, but they never told the state. And it was 11,790 that Biden won by. And there were over 32 or 33,000 people who broke that law.
Mm.
And so it doesn't mean that Trump won, but it did mean that had it been within the time frame of the election, because it took a long time he had to keep pulling the data every month for 6 months because people took that long to get up to that number. But a judge in Georgia, they have a law. If he presented that data, if he had it earlier, he would have considered it null and void and made them do another election. They've done it in the past.
Yeah, it's the other thing. The Democrat vote rigging machine is very, very slick. It's well oiled. It's been trained, and then you've also got to add into that. You have a lot of criminal gangs that will harvest votes and then have them so that they can auction them whenever they're really needed. I can get you 2,000 votes in X constituency. They're currently $100 a vote, but in an hour's time they're going to be $200 because the vote's getting close. It's until you get down to you've got mostly people voting in person with an identification that's validated, you are ripe for absolutely everything.
Well, when you talk about voter ID, the Democrats are against that.
Yeah.
It's racist and all. But what's funny is I just saw a map the other day. Somebody put up map of the United States, and it said it had all the states that he won red, all the states that Kamala won blue, and they pointed out that every single state that she won did not have voter ID.
Yeah.
The rest did.
Yeah.
Except for Pennsylvania. We had voter ID. We had passed it. And then a left-wing judge, ruled that, well, you can't use it for this coming election because it's too soon. In other words,
Yeah.
People
Yeah.
can't get an ID that quickly. It was horseshit, but
tell me this: how the fuck do these people get in the bars?
well, that's the thing. You know what? I saw a very
How-
funny. I
how
played
do-
it last night.
How
on
do
my
they
stream.
hire a car?
I played it on my stream last night. It was a guy. He went out, Ami, whatever. I forget his name, but he did a man on the street interview, and he was going up to black people in the United States, and he said, he goes, supposedly you don't know how to get an ID, and they're all like, "What are you talking about? Of course I have an ID." They're like, "Can I see it?" They're like, "Yeah." They pull their driver's. I get an ID. What are you talking about? Well, why do they say that you don't know how to get it? Who says that? Well, the Democrats. Oh, and they're like, no. And he's like, because they're like, you can't do anything in modern society without an ID. And you know what's hilarious? The NAACP, right? They're against voter ID. It's racist. But if you want to get into one of their summit meetings,
fuck,
2 forms of ID, not 1, 2.
Yeah,
you can't make this up.
There's one side on this whole argument, disagreement. There's people on one side that have got morals and standards that they hold themselves to in the same way that they hold others to, and the other side that does not. And what people have got to realize is you're always negotiating with people who are disingenuous and do not mean what they say, because they only mean it for, if it's bad, they only mean it for their opponents, and if it's good, they only mean it for themselves.
Yeah.
It's absolutely nuts. And like, I don't, even the very basic things, and like, if Facebook don't like what you're posting, they'll demand identification, and nobody has tried to say that's racist. All these calls for ID, for getting an online account and all that, nobody has argued that they are racist, but they also know that they're intended to be selectively enforced. And the problem with a voting booth is it's really hard to selectively enforce it.
I'm still trying to figure out what Anglo meant when he asked me if I was familiar with the word brace. What the hell was he talking about?
That's the Eat the Bug song. Sorry, there's something I want to go back to, because Lofer Sheffield asked a question. How will the US sequester control of the Panama Canal off the Chinese?
Chinese are already gone. The Panamanians kicked them out. They said, you got to go. They had 2 of the 5 ports. They said, you're out. You got to go. The U.S. is coming. That's what happened.
I'm going to guess that was down to money or tariffs or trade or some shit like that.
Well, what happened was we lost, 30,000 people building that thing?
Yep.
And we said that, we would help control it, but we weren't giving it back to them. We controlled it. That Democratic Party prank known as President Jimmy Carter sold it back to them for $1. That means in America, if you pay $1 for something, it's a legal contract.
Yeah.
So we gave it to them for $1. They allowed the Chinese to come in and open 2 ports because the Chinese threw shit tons of money at them. And so the Chinese were charging the U.S. just exorbitant amounts to get our stuff through. And so Trump said, no more. We're not doing that. We're taking it back. We have the right to. We built it. And that's what he said. And so then I read that the Panamanian government told the Chinese, sorry, pack it up, get ready, get your shit out, go. So that's the latest that I heard.
Yeah, that's pretty. What I would have said is, I'm not sure exactly what the state of play is, but there's going to be money enforcement involved, and the Chinese will go.
Yeah. Well, Panama pulled out of what's called the Belt and Road Initiative.
Yeah,
they pulled out of that, and I believe another big one that's going to pull out eventually will be Brazil. That whole BRICS thing.
Yeah,
I think it's going to fall apart. I do, because of what Trump's doing.
Well, the only reason why BRICS is a thing is because the West made it impossible for countries to trade through I can't remember what it's called, the banking system. It clears it at the end of every night or whatever, the SWIFT system.
Yeah, it's the SWIFT system, but it was also because of the link to the petrodollar.
Yeah.
That was the other thing as well.
And it stopped those countries trading. So they decided, well, if we can't trade with anybody else, we'll trade with ourselves and we'll get that together. And if the requirement for it being their trade being inhibited otherwise goes away, so will the BRICS.
Well, I think it was it Clinton? Was it Clinton who allowed the Chinese to become one of the world's reserve currencies? I think it was Clinton. He allowed it. We were the top world currency. And I know that countries couldn't trade in their own money. They had to use US dollar, which is why we got in so much fucking trouble, because we were able to print money. A lot of other countries don't, but we were able to print money out of nothing.
Yeah, the idea was, if you're Taiwan and your money's not worth shit, and you're Venezuela and your money's not worth shit, you need an actual currency. So you can go buy dollars and give me what I reckon my money's worth in dollars, and then it kept the prices stable, because otherwise then whenever any item gets to Venezuela with a shit currency, for that shit currency, then people can buy it back for pennies in the dollar because their money's not worth stuff. So that's why they wanted certain commodities like oil, gas, coal, whatnot, traded in dollars.
Yeah. Yeah, the thing about the Commonwealth, Brad, I have no idea. Trump floats. Look, the Trump haters in our country take him literally. And the rest of us take him seriously. He floats so much shit because he's trying. Like, for example, the tariffs. Okay, he doesn't want to use the tariffs, but he uses them to change behavior because the behavior is bad behavior. You know, a lot of countries were robbing us because they had bad trade deficits. Now, Trump said openly, I don't blame you guys. It was our stupid leaders that allowed this to happen for us to get in there, but we're not going to have it anymore because I'm not the same president. So we want, and he doesn't want to get over on anyone. He just wants fairness. That's all he wants. Yeah. Oh, but the globalists don't like fairness. They like our Democratic Party. They're like every goddamn thing rigged in their favor.
Yeah. The other thing Trump does a lot that I really love is somebody asked me, somebody go, we should think about that. So he hasn't said we're going to do it or anything, but then that story goes around the world. Trump said he's going to make Canada the 51st state, you know, and it's a total inaccuracy. Never
hilarious what he's doing.
Yeah, but I think it's funny as fuck.
Yeah, because it would never happen. Number one, number two, if anything like that, or Greenland, if anything were to go forward, Greenland might. But if it would become a territory, and nothing. Guess what? Nothing would change in Canada. Nothing.
Oh, did you hear? Denmark's on a bit of baller with Greenway.
Yep.
For
a different party won. They're saying, you know
taking
what?
Children.
Yeah.
Oh, that's something I hadn't heard before. You know, maybe there's a reason why Greenland and Denmark are not too happy with each other at the moment.
Yeah, but hold on, Brad. It's not up to Trump though. See, a lot of the lefties are, he's going to try to force his way. No, he can't do it. He said, I'd like to be a member. He didn't say, I'd like to squeeze my way in there and force myself to be. That's not what he's saying. He never said that. He says these things because he wants people to change behavior. That's all he's doing. And you think about it, he hasn't done anything yet. It's all been talk. And most of these rogue globalist countries, they oh, thank you, Lover. Most of these countries, they cave. They cave quickly. Look at Mexico. That woman president, oh, fuck you, we'll throw that. And then she's like, okay, all right, I got you. He's serious. He's serious. You know, now you got this new commie who's probably going to be as bad, if not worse, than Trudeau up in Canada. And he's saying, you know, we're not doing that. We're just gonna fight back. We've got ways too. Yeah, well, we call it the FAFO. Fuck around, find out. He's going to find out.
Yeah, because what the hell do you buy in from Canada?
What's that?
What the hell do you buy in from Canada? There's nothing up. There's nothing up there you don't have yourselves.
Right. But we do have a trade deficit with them in their dollars at 65. What is it? 65 billion, I think. With us, it's 48 billion because of the difference in the dollars. But what Trump really wanted, okay, he didn't give a shit about the trade deficit because it's not hurting us at all, right? What he cared about was Trudeau's government allowed our piece of shit president Biden to take illegals by the tens of thousands from our southern border, fly them up to Canada, and let them sneak in over the northern border.
Yep.
And Trudeau allowed that to happen. And with a lot of them comes the fentanyl. Now, they turn around and say, it's only 43 pounds of fentanyl the entire year. That's enough to kill 10 million Americans. But then another study was done, a criminal study was done, and they found it's like 8 times that amount came through. So they lied about that too. It wasn't 43 pounds. It was like 8 or 10 times that amount. And I don't give a shit. I think 70, it's 74,000 Americans die every year from fentanyl in the United States. And fentanyl is a good drug, right? My sidekick, Dr. Jade, she's an actual medical doctor. And she says, I prescribe it. I used to prescribe it all the time. She just retired like a couple months ago. She's like, I used to prescribe it all. It's a great painkiller. She goes, but if you fuck up the dosage, you die, like what a lot of these things. But Trump wanted that to stop. That's what he wanted. And the reason why, his brother was an alcoholic. And his brother drank himself to death. And it hurt him really bad. He likes to brag. He says, I've never had alcohol touch my lips ever once in my life. And he's never done an illegal drug. I can say I've never done an illegal drug. Now, the alcohol, my Irish is there. There's a lot of days I only drank on the day ending in Y. I know all that shit, but he never did. And so he's very strong on that shit. He really wants to stop the fentanyl coming in. And so Trudeau allowed that shit to come in through our northern border. So he's trying to get even with them. You're going to shut the border down, or here's what I'm going to do. Thank you, 42. That's what he did. He said, you're going to shut the border down. You're going to stop the fentanyl from coming in as best you can, or I'm going to put tariffs on it, 25%. And you notice Trudeau made the trek down to Mar-a-Lago to kiss the brass ass. He kissed Trump's ass when he made the trip down there. And Trump was gracious to him, but he said, I'm not kidding. He just wants to change behavior. That's what he wants. And so far it's working. See, what happened is our last regime, they joined the globalists. They were a bunch of commie Marxists. They were. That we call them progressives over here. And they were the worst of the worst. I mean, they fucking mandated experimental medicine.
Yep, they get worse every fucking iteration.
They just do.
It's like if you
it's awful, man. It's awful when your government says you're going to lose your job. Thank you, Sufis. They when they say you're going to lose your job if you don't get this jab, then I guess I'll be on the government's list. We had that hurricane that completely destroyed the part of North Carolina. You guys had to have heard of it, right? Yeah. And Biden told FEMA, which is Federal Emergency Management Administration, he told them ignore houses that have Trump signs on the lawn.
Yep.
As if those people didn't pay taxes that paid for FEMA. They're Americans, for Christ's sake. And this asshole said, don't help them.
How the fuck's that not discrimination?
It is, but
yeah.
See, let me tell you something. Low IQ Maxine Waters. You guys heard of her, right?
Yeah. Get up in their face in the garage, in the restaurant.
I'm saying when 2020 hit, and people were complaining to her about what he was doing, what Biden was doing, and she smiled into the camera. She goes, "What are you going to do? We're in charge now. We got all the guns. Who's going to stop us?" She smiled, winked, and walked away. She did that. And that's their mentality.
Yeah.
That's their whole mentality. We'll fucking kill you if you don't comply. And they tried. They shot him in the head. People, I love these lib nuts. They didn't shoot him in the head. They shot him in the ear. I'm like,
yeah.
Where's your fucking ear?
Unless you're Spock, with the left ear, the right ear, and space the new front ear. But that's fucking.
I'll tell you what, man. There were so many things that regime did, and see, I know you guys go through a lot of shit here in the UK with free speech. I know.
Yep.
I know. But in the United States, we have it literally enshrined in our Constitution. It's our First Amendment.
Oh, do you know?
And they forced censorship on. Think about, Joe Biden could possibly be responsible for millions of deaths around the world because they censored real medical doctors who talked about protocols they used. This was before even a vax was out. And they had them censored and shut down. I remember it started with Facebook, where Facebook, a bunch of doctors from around the world held a summit, a video, and it was live. And they were saying, like down in Australia, they're like, well, in Australia, they're using ivermectin after the second dose. Guess what? All your symptoms go away. And I know that was true because I did that. I caught the Delta, which was the worst. Thought I was dying. I had a pocket full of ivermectin, started taking them. Second dose, you take 1 dose a day. Second dose, 6 hours after. Everything was gone. I thought I was dying before that, but it was all gone. I was like, holy shit. And here we got this asshole that had that summit shut down. They couldn't talk about hydroxychloroquine. You couldn't talk about ivermectin. You couldn't talk about any of the protocols except what Joe frickin' Biden wanted you to do. And dude, that's evil. And they wonder why they lost so bad. They lost everything. And now they're getting our frickin' judges. We have left-wing judges. I call them Jacobins in the black robes, and they're trying to stop Trump. But everything Trump has done so far is under Article 2 authority. We have we have more than 3, but the first 3. Article 1 is about the power that our Congress has, the legislators. Article 2 is the power of the executive branch. Article 3 is the judiciary. We talk about the separation of powers. It means not one power can be more powerful than the other. Okay. Yeah. Well, we got these fucking judges that are coming in and stopping him every day now, saying, well, you can't do this. Well, why? It's in Article 2. Of course I can. Well, you can't fire these people. If I can hire them, I can fire them. Right? So they're trying to stop them because they have no other way to stop them, and they don't. And they say that we're the ones that don't believe in democracy.
Do you think Trump is letting this lawfare and the Supreme Court are letting all this lawfare go as far as it is simply to see how far the stink goes?
Actually, because this is my understanding, and from some people I know personally in the know. They realize, like a lot of people say, oh, you have 4 years. No, I said you have 2 years because you got midterms. And if you don't get a lot of things written in stone, if the Democrats win one house of our Congress, it cuts everything down. If they win both houses, they will impeach Trump on day 1 and remove him on day 2. They'll get rid of all the protocols and say, nah, we're just going to vote. Fuck it. Let's do it. Fuck it. And then they'll go after J.D. Vance. All right?
Oh,
I'm just telling you, they will take
if the Democrats win next, it's going to be fucking very bad. Yes. Very, very, very bad.
Well, look, I got news for everybody. The Democrats are not going to win the White House for a very long time. A very, very, very long time. And it's because they lost a large enough percentage of the Hispanic and black vote, because they finally woke the hell up and realized you've been promising us shit for 100 years and you never came through. Trump said, hold my beer, even though he doesn't drink. Hold my beer. And he goes off and does all the things. And they go, you can't do that. The Democrat, you can't. Why? Because you said you were going to and you didn't. And he made it look so easy. That's why they hate his guts. You know why they really hate his guts? Because he grew up in Queens. Okay. He's a New Yorker. You got to be a Democrat to get anything done in New York. So he was a Democrat because he wanted to build skyscrapers and other things, baseball parks, ice skating rinks. He wanted to build all that shit. And so you got to grease the palms of all the politicians, all the local guys too. So what happened? Thatcher. I actually liked Margaret Thatcher. Anyway, so I digress. So I liked her a lot, and so did Reagan. But it turns out that he got into all the like the cocktail parties, and and they told him all their secrets. Oh, here's what we do. We do. Can you believe that? Fuck the Republicans. All that shit, right? So he knows all their secrets. He knows all the criminal shit they did, right? He didn't partake in any of it, but they thought he was the guy, because think about it. He was on stage, right, with Muhammad Ali and Rosa Parks. Do you guys know who Rosa Parks is?
Yes.
Getting an award.
The back of the bus.
Yeah, yes, getting an award for the work he's done in the black community. He was friends with Al Sharpton and Jesse I Have a Scheme Jackson, with all those a-holes, right? The minute he turned around and said, I'm running for president as a Republican, they thought that motherfucker turned on us. He sold us out. Jimmy from Philly in the house, my brother. What's up? So he sold out to them, according to them. They thought he was one of them. And here he goes to run to shut down all the criminal, crooked shit that they do.
Mm-hmm.
They all loved him. You're right, Linda. They did. And yet now they hate his guts because he's not one of them. And they thought he was. They told him things they shouldn't have told. He said during the first primary back in 2016, he said, I had to have Hillary Clinton come to my wedding because she was a senator from New York, right? He goes, and guess what? She had to come. You know why? Because he gave money to her, right? He greased her palm for shit.
Yep.
He goes, she had to come, and he said, so I know these people. He goes, they'll do anything for money. He goes, now this is when he sold me. I was for Ted Cruz prior to this. When he said, look, I got lobbyists calling me all the time. He goes, because they think I'm going to win. And he goes, and I tell them, look, I'll listen to you, but I don't want your money. I don't need it. And I was like, that's a guy that's being honest. I don't need your feckin' money. So I was like, that's my guy right there. He's a once-in-a-generation politician.
Yep. They're very few and far between, but a politician that's not in there for themselves is a wonderful thing.
Yep, he got out of his lane. You're right. You're right, Brad. I'm sorry, I didn't mean. I heard you. You're right. He got out of his lane, and they didn't like it.
Yeah.
He's a once in a lifetime politician, and I think J.D. Vance, who I didn't like at first because he was a never Trumper in the beginning, and then I love his answer when they said, "Now you said." Before that you didn't like Trump, that yada yada yada, and he goes, well, yeah, because I fell for all your horse shit. He basically said, because I believe the media and you guys lied so badly about him. When I started actually watching how he was governing and listening to him, I thought, wow, this guy's the exact opposite of what I thought. So he did a full mea culpa. Now he's the VP, and I think he was the right choice because I think he has the balls and the determination and the brains to actually continue America First. The America First movement. That's what I think, and I'm very happy that he's there. Yeah, right. So we could have him for 8 years, hey, what's up, Ludwig? Unless the demons get back in somehow, I don't know. But what the beautiful part is, 40, is that people in America aren't buying their shit anymore. They only ever had 33%. Right, you had 33% on the left, 33% on the right, 33% in the middle, and the middle always split either way. Well, the middle now went, evil democrats. They went with the Republicans this time because they were like, and you know what it was?
I don't think they're going back either.
I don't think so either. Here's why, though. Here's why I think they went, because they totally miscalculated the. What is it, up to between 11 and 20 million illegals coming in? Yeah. Because when Greg Abbott started sending them to sanctuary cities all over our country, well, the Democrats had to accept them because they were sanctuary cities, right? They couldn't say, oh, we don't want them, right?
Yep.
And so what happened was the people in those cities got pissed because all the resources that they relied on, that they paid taxes for,
they're stealing our money.
They were taking, right. And now we find out, get this, we find out that U.S. aid, right, that Trump pretty much shut down, USAID and FEMA. FEMA's supposed to be for a natural disaster, right? You're supposed to help Americans. FEMA was the one paying $25 million per week on rent of hotel rooms in New York City for illegals. $25 million a week for over 3 years. It's unbelievable.
And now those people are on the street.
Right. And then they downplay the crime. The most of them aren't criminals. Tell that to the people who lost loved ones because of these people. Tell that to them. And how many is the press not reporting? Think about that. How many people, how many thousands of people got murdered by illegals, right? That we don't even know about yet because they won't be honest about it.
Yep. Right. We are coming up on 3 hours.
Oh, sorry.
Here,
Rich, forgive me.
Oh, Rich, honestly, this has been an absolute pleasure. You have to be coming back here regular.
I love you guys. Man.
I really enjoy your conversation. One going to do now. Pakka, Sansom, is there anything that we've missed or anything we need to cover?
There was one sort of an and finally story that I had.
Yes.
That I had lined up because I thought it would be nice for.
Give us that.
Ready for Mother's Day, and it's just a little one. But here we go. This is a nice one. Puppy Mountain along Chinese River draws in tourists. So we don't need to do anything more, but have a look at it. Puppy Mountain. That's real. That's actually real.
Yeah, look at
good,
that.
Isn't it?
That's good.
Oh man, yeah. So I just thought I'd just chuck that little bit of a tickler in at the end there.
You're right, Linda. They did. They closed it all. Man, what they did to the world. Oh God. And think about all the. I'm sorry. I'll. This will be my last rant.
Work away.
All the shit that they censored on Twitter, like they censored all of our platforms. But I don't know what they did in your place, but in your country. But they all of our platforms they censored any information about COVID or the vax.
Yep.
On this, you couldn't even talk about the vax on this platform. They throw you off. And well, to this day, they'll do misinformation too. Don't say anything against the vaccines. The vaccines, to our YouTube overlords, were the most wonderful invention we ever had. Anyway, so what they did was they stifled all that information that could have saved lives.
Yep.
And I'm like, when is the reckoning coming?
Oh, well, not only that. Do you know why they put them all on ventilators?
Why?
It was not for the medical health of the patients. It was because whenever you put somebody on a ventilator, they do not exhale into the world. So
be careful what you say. Be careful what you say, because I got hit up because I had a stream and a guy said something about. I brought a guy in, a real good friend of mine, and he said something about the vax, and they gave me a strike for it because they said that anything that is not said by the WHO, the guys that lied and were paid off by the Chinese, that you can't say anything that's not approved by the WHO. Okay. Even though we pulled out of the WHO, I could still be hit up.
Okay.
Be careful.
Then I'm going to make this really easy. I'm not talking about ventilators. I'm going to talk about spray painting and health and safety. If you work in a place where there's spray car repairs or whatever, and you come in one morning and you're sniffing and coughing because you've got a bit of a cold, the rest of the people in that, somebody's going to say, "Oh, you got a cold?" And you go, "Yeah, I'm not feeling too great." And they'll go, put your cartridge mask, keep it on. And you go, "Why will that cure me?" He says, "No, but it'll stop the rest just getting it because the filter's just going to stop the breath on the way out." So whenever you put somebody into something that controls what they exhale, you protect not the person but the environment.
Right. Yeah, it was crazy what was going on.
The other thing, whenever
I was almost put on a ventilator because even though the ivermectin killed all my symptoms, I had waited too long to take it because I had the flu 10 days prior to catching that, and I thought it was the flu again.
Yeah.
So I waited too long. I caught the viral pneumonia, and I couldn't breathe, and I was like, "There's no way." Well, I found a doctor that would take me that day for monoclonals, and I got them, and it actually saved me.
Fuck.
Yeah. It was kind of scary, man.
it's scary as fuck. And the
Wow.
here's the other thing. See, whenever we have doctors that will pretend a boy is a girl and cut
Yeah.
off genitals
Be
and
careful.
stuff.
Be careful.
Right,
what
yeah,
you say.
but
yeah, I know.
right. If you've got like the National Health Service in Great Britain will send men for vaginal smears, right? Which can't be done because it's not medically possible. They don't have the uterus.
Right.
Now, but if you can normalize going so far off the medical facts and right and wrong with that, where do you then stop?
Exactly.
Exactly. Like the idea of having boundaries and borders is they're fucking solid and they're clear and you don't go past this level.
Right.
It's supposed to be like a line around a minefield.
Right.
But we have now changed the medical profession where we've mixed it we've mixed medical with sociology and psychology, and where definite medical solutions should be found, they're using philosophy and all sorts of shit, and then we get mad crap like this. But anyway,
well, you know that they gave a pardon to Fauci.
Oh yeah.
But do you know what Trump just did? He said all those pardons are null and void because of the auto pen.
Yes.
You heard about that?
Yes, because while it would be quite legal for him to sign with an auto pen,
right,
provided he knows that he's doing it,
right.
The thing was that this was done on his behalf.
Right. He didn't, because his staffers, in other words, were illegally approving things that he had no idea. And we know that because the Speaker of the House had a conversation with him and said, why'd you take the LGP or whatever it is, the liquid gas something. He said, why did you do it? And he goes, I didn't sign it. He goes, you did because it's affecting my state. And he goes, no, I didn't. He goes, no, what I signed was something we're going to do a study on. And he goes, no, sir, you signed an executive order that shut it down. And he didn't know. He had no idea.
Yeah. Well, why else would they want them in there?
Well, I think that like every day he called a lid at like 11 o'clock. So they put him in the TV room. They turned on Matlock and gave him a handful of grapes.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think he did much of anything when he was in there.
Oh, he was not the person running the country.
Right.
By any stretch.
Obama was the guy that was behind the scenes pulling the strings.
With his famous quote that he would love to be sitting in his basement in his sweatpants with a puppet in the front, you know. But right, I'm gonna close this down before I get this fucking channel shut.
You hear what Billy said? You haven't been on for 3 hours. You lost and gained an hour. That's great.
Hold up.
We've been going 3 hours, guys. This thing's been going 3 hours.
It has.
Yeah.
It has, because I know that I know it was past an hour whenever you came on.
Yeah.
And we've been going like an hour and a half.
An hour. Now it's just 3 hours and 4 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's funny. You guys. So Mother's Day is Sunday.
Yes.
In your country. Okay.
Today.
For some dumbass, I'm an American. I thought everybody has the same Mother's Day.
Oh, we have the same Father's Day. That's very strange because it's always the last Sunday of the US Open golf tournament.
Oh, okay. But you guys have daylight savings also, right?
Yes.
Oh wow.
Yeah,
okay. Yeah. We had that a few weeks ago.
Yeah, it was. Oh fuck! You only got it because we have it. Like everything else that goes into the Commonwealth, it fucking migrates, and we got it because some absolute lunatic thought that we were wasting daylight in the morning and could have been out at work earlier. So basically, what they did was they took the daylight office while we were working, and or put it on while they could work us and took it off when we were doing past our shift to enjoy the long evening. But fuck, there we go. Right.
Thank you.
Well, I'll go around and do last thoughts, and then I'm going to play the bugs. Mr. Pakka up in the top right. What about you, Sean? or we call him by surprise. You can go after Sansom. Sansom,
He's probably nature called.
yeah. Sansom, any last thoughts?
Excellent stream. Always a great pleasure to have Rich on. I like to sit in the background and just listen because it's great stuff. It's always
I could run
great
my
stuff.
mouth forever.
No, but the thing is, if you were talking bollocks, we'd interrupt you. So there you go. There's the the approval rating, as shall we say.
Yeah.
And once again, massively undersubscribed channel. I understand why my channel's shit, but yours is massively undersubscribed.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. I don't know what I'm doing wrong.
Yeah, so the next time I'll be streaming will be the Easter weekend. So Easter Friday is the 18th. So the Saturday the 19th, I'm doing a stream at 8 o'clock BST, British Summertime, with hopefully guest Toffee and others. Don't know exactly who yet, but we'll work that out when we get to it, because Jack of Rags and Jack fame has said we should really try and put together a little ditty and do a little sort of advert for the Easter weekend. So it would be like, Dave's Waffle House, 8:30 on Friday, Good Friday. And then you're on the Friday nights normally, aren't you, Rich, as well?
Yeah,
Is it 11? It's 11-hour time roughly, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, but I think the reason, like I say, you used to be on at 11, but now you seem to be dropping on at 10, and I think that's because you changed to BST before, daylight savings time before we did.
We went ahead, yeah.
So you'll be mentioned.
I do 6 o'clock Eastern time on Friday, and you know why? Because nobody else bigger than me did it.
That here, yeah. We used to try and organize stuff around each other so there was no sort of duplication of effort.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Everybody, so I'll be doing 8, and then obviously 42 will be doing. I don't know what your plans are for this weekend, if you're away with them or anything.
You're the best, Sheila.
If not, it'll be 10:30 for 42, and then obviously on the Sunday it'll be Rags and Jack. So yeah, it should be a good thing. It should be a good thing. So yeah, the next time I'll be streaming will be, unless I do an impromptu one-off one with like William or somebody, it'll be Saturday the 19th of April, Easter Saturday.
Rich, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on. I really enjoy our conversations.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much for the invite.
Yeah, you will be getting invites back. Trust me on that one. What I will say is, whenever I play this outro, you're familiar with Bear Grylls?
With what?
Bear Grylls, the celebrity adventurer.
No, actually, I'm not.
Right. Okay. Well, see, whenever you see somebody holding a large widgety grub,
all right,
close to their face, brace, because the next bit, it's not very pleasant.
All right.
I
can't wait to see this.
Yeah.
You got. Can I have my last word?
Yes, I have. Please.
Everybody in the chat, I love you all, man. Half your people here come into mind. So I know a lot of them, and they're just the greatest people on earth. The rest of you guys, I love you guys. I love everything about this. Okay, I love the UK culture. I love you guys. I really do, and I thank you so much for the invite. It means an awful. You have no idea what it means to me to have this much fun.
I'm really glad you're enjoying it, and I look forward to having you on again. And with that, I'm going to play Eat the Bugs. And whenever you see something that looks like a large worm type thing, prepare yourself. It's not great. Here we go. Eat the bugs.
Here we go. See you guys.
42 speaking. Welcome to the Resistance. You will own nothing, and you will be happy. And you will eat the bugs. Oh shit, man. Eat the bugs? You got me wrong. You got me so wrong. You ever seen a cave drawing of somebody with a spear hunting a mosquito? Well, me either. We eat meat and we have choices. You cook the hedgehog right, it tastes like chicken. Fucking chicken. I ain't eating your bugs. I ain't eating your bugs. I started off with nothing and I'm never going back. I'm not getting on your progressive track. With Agenda 2030, I refuse to engage. I can see where it is going and it's just another cage. I've got hedgehog, I've got rabbit, I've got wild hog. Fuck it, I could even move to Alaska and get me a nice caribou. Fuck it, I'm not eating your bugs. They're trying to take away what I fought so hard to get, so I'm going to say no to your cattle country. Eat the bugs, live in some communal pod with no fucking privacy, own nothing and be happy. I've seen the people with nothing and they don't look happy. Eat the bugs, live in some communal pod with no fucking privacy, own nothing and be happy. I'm not eating your bugs. Fuck it. Fuck it. I'm not eating your bugs. Fuck it. I'm not eating your bugs. Fuck it. Fuck it. Oh shit, man, you got me wrong. You got me so fucking wrong. There are millions of us in the UK, billions worldwide, unvaccinated, striding out into our third winter of death with not a care in the world. Eating pig, eating cow, eating chicken, and we will not conform. Fuck it, I'm not eating your bugs. Hey, Klaus Schwab, this is 42, and I want the word with you. Motherfucker.
This is the fourth industrial revolution. We have a new opportunity for the great reset. Technology is a critical weapon. History is truly at a turning point. We can shape a better world, and we will reglobalize to make it a better place. So will honor, and so will be, and so will eat the bugs.
Why we got me talking? Why is United Nations in charge of Stonehenge? Keeping me away from the stones? That's not world heritage, that's heritage. You're getting to the point where the people just want to be left alone and going to get involved. Tell me again, why is United Nations running Stonehenge? Fuck it. Stonehenge museum's a fucking Pelican mountain range now owned by UNESCO, so you and I can never go. Fuck your 15-minute cities and your Internet of Things. We are going back to nature, see what that life brings. We had a good look at the planning we did, so we hook up with the Woodlander and take our shit off grid. Fuck it. We hook up with the Woodlander and take our shit off grid. Fuck it. We'll hook up with the Woodlander and take our shit off grid.
This is 42 speaking. Welcome to the Resistance.
Fuck it.
Wow. Dude, when those guts came out, I was like,
Yeah, this is why you brace.
that was it. Now I understand.
Yeah. Oh, fuck.
Oh man, that was
Right.
bad.
I've played all the other ones, so I'm gonna do a fucking double intro. I've played all the other ones, so why not? We'll do the Anglo-Saxon. Just only like 2 minutes.
Sensum, I'm sorry to interrupt. Sensum, do me a favor. I wanna sub you. So, what's your link?
Yeah, I'll drop it in the chat, mate.
Yeah, we'll get that dropped in the chat.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, we'll play the Anglo-Saxon. If this comes up, please.
Hello, you're listening to 42's letter to the Anglo-Saxons. When you spread this message, you are the resistance. The Anglo-Saxon. The Anglo-Saxon shook his head sharply, his hair dislodging droplets of sweat from the back of his neck, the produce of moving a carcass to the workbench. The sharpened blades and cleavers felt natural in his hand. The carcass divided to his will. The Anglo-Saxon's muscle memory was that of a warrior. His body was lost to the toil, but his mind wandered to memories that were not his own. An intruder startled the Anglo-Saxon. However, before him was not the meadows and glades of his ancestors, but a butcher's shop window. While politely serving the customer, the Anglo-Saxon mourned the loss of a kingdom he had never known, of the rituals and customs that were lost long before his grandparents were even born. Outside, the street was a bustle. He knew there were others like him, ones who carried the warrior's pride. Amongst them he would find the rightful place of an Anglo-Saxon. The Anglo-Saxon.
It was not preached to the crowd, it was not taught by the state. No man spoke it aloud when the Anglo-Saxons began to hate. It was not suddenly bred, it will not swiftly abate. Through the chill years ahead, when the time shall count from the date that the Anglo-Saxons began to hate. When time shall count from the date the Anglo-Saxons began to hate.
Game over. Damn.
That's pretty much all of them you've seen now. Right. Okay, people. Thank you very much. Rich has been Rich. Sanson's been Sanson. Pakka's been Pakka. I've been 42. You lot in the chat have as always been fucking amazing. Thank you so much. Good night. God bless. I will see you all next week. I'll say my goodbyes in the back room. Partly so. Okay, I'm out of here. Goodbye.